Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge presented by Performance Texas Elite Graphics here on Apex Racing TV. Embarking on an 8-round romp around North America's and the world's most challenging tarmac, we once again shine the spotlight on some of the best LMP2 and GT3 drivers from around the world. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth, as always, is Larry Lefty McLeod, while we've got Dennis Branch and Jonathan Grabowski bringing you all of the best angles that Apex Racing TV is known for. Tonight we find ourselves at Belle Isle, a small island situated in the Detroit River with grand views of downtown Detroit off in the background. In the grand views of Detroit. I know that's not something you'd normally think of, but that's what it is. And it's home to an aquarium, a nature center, and a conservatory, and perhaps antithetically to a 2.35-mile street circuit built at its westernmost end. And as with most street circuits, the walls are close, the racing's tight, and the passing takes patience. But with our LMP2 racers and GT3 racers each getting their own 40-minute sprint race tonight, Larry, we just might see things open up just a bit here in your virtual backyard.
Yes, in my backyard. I'm currently probably about 40 minutes away from Belle Isle here in the Detroit metro area, and I've been to this track. It is, as you say, very tight and tough to pass, but I think doing this as two separate races tonight, definitely a good move on the part of the administrators of this league. Going to give everyone a chance to sort of stretch their legs, stretch their elbows, so to speak, going into turn 7, of course, the usual spot for that, but an opportunity for some passing, maybe some side-by-side, but we're definitely going to see a lot of action here in these two sprint races.
Yeah, Larry. So just to fill everybody in on how things are working tonight, we are going to have, first up, as you can see them on track right now, starting with their 15-minute lone qualifying session, we're going to have our LMP2 racers and their 40-minute race first, and then a little bit later tonight, we're going to switch over to the tin tops and have our GT3 racers in both the Pro and the AM classes go at it for their 40-minute race. And this is coming off the heels of round 1 in this season of the World Challenge, where we were at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and very, very different venue areas, as you mentioned here. Lots of short straights, not a lot of opportunities for passing here. Some definite opportunities going into turn 3, for example, here, but a lot different from the big flowing track that we had at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park at Mosport just a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, very, very different styles. This place is concrete, it's bumpy, it's bouncy. These walls are just right on top of you all the time, and sometimes these races are a test of attrition. You think you can make a move, and if you can't, sometimes you just sit back and let someone else make a mistake and clobber a wall for you and take themselves out of your way. So really, it does reward patience, it rewards precision, it rewards practice around this place. And those that have put in the seat time are going to be the ones that probably qualify well and are able to leave the mayhem behind them as we get the green flag going in each of these two races.
Yeah, absolutely, Larry. And so, as our drivers go out on track, they not only can gain points for their finishing positions in the races, who gets pole position for a race, but they can also gain bonus points for time behind the wheel in practice. So it certainly behooves these drivers to do that. All right, so tell you what, Larry, as we've been talking about the layout of the track here, and we've got our drivers now just going out and trying to set their initial fast laps here during qualifying in the LMP2 Delars. Let's go over and hook up with Kevin Ford, because he's going to give us this week's track guide of Belle Isle.
Welcome, everyone, to Detroit, Michigan. Yeah, we are right across the river from downtown here at the Belle Isle Street Circuit. Very well-known course, been around since 1992 and has provided some incredible racing over the years. As we come around the final corner of turn 14 and head up underneath that flag marshal stand and get ready for the braking of turn 1. Let that car roll to the right. You want to get a wide exit here to set up that nice smooth entry for turn 2. Right out to the wall to get as much momentum as we can down the straightaway here of Central Avenue. This will take us down to turn 3. Of course, a lot of overtaking opportunities in this brake zone here. Coming down into this very difficult right-hander and very narrow, to say the least. And it gets tighter here even as we come into turn 4. Right-hander that's going to carry you right out to the walls there. Same here as 5. Hug that inside, nice and smooth, easy on the exit, and then up into turn 6. One of the most trickiest corners on the track to get right. A lot of undulation on that exit. That car loves to get loose there. This will bring us out onto Strand Drive, the longest straightaway here, if you can call it a long straight, here at the Belle Isle Street Circuit. A lot of beautiful landscaping around this track as we head down into the fountain section. Around turn 7 into turn 8 here. A lot of undulation. As you can see, that car just takes a beating through this section. Round 9 into turn 10 here, then into the right-hander of turn 11. Very, very tight corner. Big dip there coming off the corner that'll certainly break that traction. So easy on the throttle coming out as we set ourselves up for turn 12. Another tight right-hander on exit, slight right of 13, easy back to the throttle, and then wide open as we head down the final straightaway here that'll bring us right back around to that start-finish line. There you go. There's your fast lap around Detroit's Belle Isle circuit here in Detroit, Michigan. Thank you for being with us.
All right, and thanks once again to Kevin Ford. You know, one of these days, Larry, we're going to see him bounce the car off the walls during one of those track guides. I've been waiting now for 2 years and I've never seen it, but thank you once again, Kevin Ford, for that exciting lap of Belle Isle. And, you know, Larry, Belle Isle, it may not have that super tight hairpin like you have at the very end of the Long Beach circuit, but I think just as you mentioned, the bumps and the undulations, especially as you come off a Strand Drive and go into the fountain section here, really is enough to ruin a driver's day. So we'll see how our drivers do. And as we look at the timing pylon right now, up in the upper right, we're trying to get a handle on our LMP2 drivers and their qualifying times. We only have 2 drivers that have managed to put laps in the books. I think we're on board right now with, is that Caleb Lavender, I believe, in the 333 car that we're on board with. He is still trying to get a time in on his very last of 4 flying laps allowed here in the World Challenge during qualifying.
And he does, just barely behind Randall McGrew. So as of right now, it's just those 3 drivers at a time there. Lavender able to at least get one in the books after a couple of tries. That was, in fact, his 4th try at it. So it's not easy around here. These walls are close, and of course, with iRacing, you rub a wall and you get that 0x. Your lap time is negated right away. So very important to be super, super clean around here. But again, we're only expecting probably about 8 drivers in this field. So if you don't qualify in the front 3 rows or the back row, you're not
all that far off the pole. Yeah. All right, and so we're on board right now with Arthur Chan, driver of the number 50 Axon Driving Solutions machine. He was our champion last year for season 2 of the Rickmotech World Challenge and finished third a few weeks ago at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park at Motorsport. He is now underway, and I believe this is his very first flying lap attempt here. Hopefully we'll also have Arthur on with us before their race gets underway for a few words. But we are still waiting on times to be put on the board from Arthur, as well as Christian Eisler, our winner in round 1 from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Looks like
$260 for a triple play package.
Finished second at CTMP, not here this evening.
Our internet's pretty good. That was the big thing we
see how this
changed on my
field
wife's
plays out. And there's
home.
Mr. Eisler making his way around, now underway for his very first flying lap here at Belle Isle.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Kind of, as you said, coming off of that win,
like all the sports packages and shit for
trying to look
TV,
to maybe gather some good points here as well. And Lavender, who led a lot of the laps, also in fact led more laps than Eisler in that first round. He's up there on that front right now. McGrew, who led a few laps at Mosport, right now on this provisional pole. So we got some fast drivers in here to compete with this. And of course, last season's champ in this LMP2 class, Arthur Chan, also in this field now, just less than a second off of the pole time right now.
Yeah, and Larry, if we look back to that first round at CTMP, a lot of, shall we say, surprises in the LMP2 field, in the LMP2 race. The race started off with Eisler on the pole. He actually spun the car on the very first lap, dropped all the way to the back of the field, then worked his way back up to the lead. But I'll tell you, it got to be for a while that it seemed like nobody wanted to win that LMP2 race. We had, I think we had Arthur Chan a couple laps in, get together with the GT3 entry of Jeff Jacobs. A little bit later, Caleb Lavender got together with Tony Cernan's Porsche, dropping both of those drivers back. And for a while, Randall McGrew, who's our provisional pole sitter right now, looked like he was going to have an easy run to the checkered flag at CTMP. He put the car into the wall with about 10 minutes remaining in the race and ended up watching Eisler take the win from the pit lane. So, a lot of surprises thrown in there for us. And tell you what, let's, Larry, while we've got a couple seconds here and we've got Chan making his way on his second flying lap, let's take a look at the points in LMP2. And again, this is after 1 week, one round here in the World Challenge, where Eisler, who did take the win, he is sitting atop the leaderboard right now with 39 points, and it should be noted that he picked up 4 bonus points for being on pole and also for putting in practice time. Jennifer McDonald in the BTL Motorsports entry, who is not here this evening, finished second in the race. She was the sole driver in LMP2 that ran a clean race with 0 incident points, so she picked up some bonus points for that. She's sitting 4 points back right now in second. And then Arthur Chan, again, last year's champion in the Axon Driving Solutions machine, with 32 points. He finished in third. He was the last car running in LMP2 after having that early incident, as I mentioned, with Jeff Jacobs' Mercedes. Both Lavender and McGrew were not running at the end of the race. Lavender finishing 4th, McGrew 5th, and they are sitting, I mean, it didn't hurt them all that much. Lavender's only 1 point back from Chan. McGrew's only 2 points back from Chan, or probably 3 points back from Chan. So still very, very close here in LMP2. And you can see Ryan Reeves, who we saw him out in practice earlier, but I did not, he's not out right now for qualifying. He did not race last week. And Chris Thorman, as we mentioned, who's currently sitting 5th and on his 5th flying lap, or 4th flying lap, pardon me, did not race in round 1 at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. This is his first outing of the year in the number 1 D2D E-Racing entry.
Yeah, so a little bit deeper field this week, and some opportunities for those that maybe didn't get the points they had in the first round. It's going to make this interesting, is certainly in the sprint format, where it's not the multiple fuel stops like we'd seen in prior rounds. This should just be one, and these drivers have plenty of room. They're not having to fight through those GT3s like you talked about, some of the incidents where drivers like Arthur Chan came together with some of our GT3 drivers in the last round. Not going to have to worry about tonight. Now you have to do is just worry about smacking a wall here on Belle Isle. Yeah. That's probably your biggest thing to dodge around this place, because those walls make it tough to see around these corners. And those bumps, I really can't say enough about these bumps, because this is these LMP2 cars, they're very long. They like big, fast places like Daytona. You put them on a tight little track like this with a couple of relatively tight turns. Maybe it's not Long Beach hairpin type, but there's a couple of them that are pretty close. You throw in some walls for visibility and some bumps for the handling, and this thing is just a monster to get around here. So I think it'll really take a special touch. I don't know if we're going to see anybody tonight like Jennifer McDonald getting a 0x race last time. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to do that, but if they can, they might find themselves in the podium at the end of this.
All right. Well, with only 5 cars out there on track, it's going to be kind of hard for you to be odd man out and not make it to the podium. But speaking of which, just got word that Arthur Chan, who we hoped would join us here for a pre-race interview, is not going to be able to step into the commentary booth with us. He's busy getting that D2D E-Racing machine, or probably not D2D E-Racing, that Axon Driving Solutions machine ready to go, as we are just about to see the checkered flag on our qualifying session. All 5 drivers have managed to put in qualifying times here. Chris Thorman only put in 3 fast laps, did not put in a 4th lap, but again, he's only going to be starting on row number 3, not all that far back from the rest of the field. So Larry, why don't we take a look at that starting grid, where we do have McGrew, who is your pole sitter in the Genesis SimSport entry, the number 67 car, with Caleb Lavender, the number 333 machine. He will start on the outside of the front row with the Archer Brothers Esports entry, only 16 thousandths of a second back after only getting a lap time in on his very last flying lap. Christian Eisler, our winner from round 1 in the Punto Racing entry, he will start in 3rd with Arthur Chan 4th, and then Chris Thorman, his first time out running the LMP2s here in the World Challenge, he will start in 5th. And I believe we do have a short pace lap here, Larry.
Very short around this already short track, so not a lot of time to get heat in the tires. And these LMP2 cars, they do like some heat. My experience in these is they get faster and faster as the fuel levels come down, as well as the heat in the tire starts to build. So I think that first lap could be a little treacherous. Certainly the turn 1 or turn 2 here at Belle Isle could be a little treacherous for these guys, and we'll see how well they can do and fight this out before it goes into that bottleneck down there in 3. So I'm looking forward to an interesting start here in LMP2.
All right, we're still waiting on Arthur Chan to get his car to the grid here, and we'll give him another few moments, and then we will start off on our short pace lap. Larry, one of those things that we'll be looking at is, I talked about those incidents, those interclass incidents that we had between the LMP2s and the GT3s, but we also had a bit of an issue with a jump start here in the LMP2s to start off round number 1. And I believe it was Lavender in the 333 machine that may have gotten an early start there, and he had gotten penalized for it. So I'm sure he's going to be sitting back maybe and waiting for McGrew.
And not the first time. How many times, I'd say in probably the last 2 seasons, how many times we've seen jump starts. It's almost an every other week thing. Very difficult to judge the pace of this start and to make sure as the second car that you're not ahead of the lead car when the lead car goes in that start zone. So definitely everyone's on high alert for that to make sure that we do this correctly and give Randall his due as the pole sitter.
There you go. And so the pace car takes off, and perhaps not only not wanting to jump to start, maybe not even wanting to leave the start the pace lap. Randall McGrew lets that pace car get about a quarter of the track up. And again, only a couple of corners here. They're going to come through 12 and 13 onto the front straight here. In just a moment, and you'll see here now on the front straight, green flag is in the air, and we've got Randall McGrew jumping out to a very early start going into turns 1 and 2. The car's already straightening out here with Lavender running in second. Arthur Chan in the number 50 machine, who is a little late to the grid, is in third, with Eisler, our winner from last round, and Chris Thorman making out the rest of the field, running 4th and 5th right now. And you can see it side by side as Eisler gets around Arthur Chan coming through turn 4, and already a change in position here as they start to make their way through on the first lap, Larry.
Yeah, and that's you can get by early on, go for it. It's tough though. It's only a 40-minute race. This is not the full hour and a half or so that we've done past. It's still kind of a longer race, and aggressiveness though paying off there for Eisler there on the opening lap, trying to make sure that McGrew and Lavender don't get away here in the get-go. The other interesting thing about this car, we've talked about this before, is they don't race nose to tail very well. The aero on these things, while it's not Formula 1 aero, there's a lot of intricate aero around these things, and running up against somebody's rear side of their car takes away a lot of your front grip. So what you're seeing already here is you see the gap from McGrew to Lavender about a half a second. I'd be curious to see if Lavender's car is already developing a bit of a push, but that gap then back to Eisler, probably about where you're going to see a lot of it stay, just because the aero, as we've already got Arthur Chan going slow in the background there.
Yeah, it looks like Chan already having some issues, and he's got Chris Thorman back behind him as well. We'll have to see here. No, looks like Thorman might have gotten around Chan. We'll have to see how things play out there. Coming out of the corners there, you can see there as Thorman now move him up in the 4th. Arthur Chan having some issues there, dropping back in the 5th. Not to speculate, I'm wondering if Chan might have been having some equipment issues that he had to work through, as he was late to the grid and maybe having some problems here at the beginning of this race.
He may have gotten a little bit back on pace now, just looking at his gap. Seems to be steadied about that 11-second total. 8 seconds behind Thorman, so he may have stabilized whatever he had going on. We'll keep our eyes on that, because he's certainly a force to be reckoned with, having won quite a few races last year in the series. Definitely one of a very consistent driver in this field, so we'll see if he can get that under control and maybe even make a race out of this before it's over. Just showing you that gap though from McGrew to Lavender now, just over a second, and then again about 1 second back to Eisler. So there's those gaps to talk about, that aero that you need in order for you to not wear your front tires out. You probably want to keep a little bit of gap, and then maybe with 10 minutes when the race start pushing back up there. But sitting behind somebody, a car length or two is just going to destroy your own front tires and make your race that much more squirrely around this already difficult track. As you can see here on the onboard, how difficult it is with these undulations, especially that turn 3, where we talk about every time we're here. The GM engineering head who had himself behind of a Corvette decided to smack into that wall when his back end got out of the way, and he was just doing demo laps and not even racing. So
yeah, not even racing, and I don't think he got even through a single lap before he lost lost to the rear end of the car, and then I guess technically lost the front end of the car as well as it went into the wall.
I'd like to make fun of him for it, but I'd probably do the same thing. I can't
exactly.
blame him. You throw
we need an engineer from GM like Tony Roma or somebody like that to make
exactly.
fun. Well, maybe we'll talk to Tony during the runoffs. All right, so
Arthur, though, looks like he's definitely gotten back on form. He's right now in the back of Thorman, trying to make a move and realizing how tight this place is, certainly going into that turn 7, into the small little carousel section here with 8, 9, and 10, and then the nearly hairpin we'll get up to here at 11. Really difficult to pass. The best place really is going into 3. Maybe if someone gets a bad run out of this right here, this turn 11, perhaps, just maybe you can get by at the end of this short straight, but it is short and it is just narrow.
Yeah, and just so you're aware here as we're watching, I think, Larry, as I've been watching our feed here, I think we've got Thorman's car displaying as car number 60, even though you see him there on the timing tower as car number 1. Don't be too confused. Thankfully, there are only 5 cars out there, so it's pretty easy to keep track of them. So
we'll do our best to keep it square. We certainly know we're on board with Thorman looking back at Arthur Jan. There they are, the 50 and 60 right in your shot. This beautiful sunset of an afternoon here at Belle Isle. But Arthur's going to have to really work to get on by. It's not going to be easy to just pass. And as the longer it goes, the harder it's going to be to get back up into the mix, as those top 3 are on a pretty tremendous pace right now, all running in the 119s.
Yeah, and as we can see here, as Thorman gets a little bit loose coming out of the corner there, but again, not much, at least for the moment, that Chan can do with it, and you can see Thorman already getting
the other opportunity is coming off of that turn 5 onto this back straight. Is really your other opportunity. You can see he goes on by there. Thorman kind of realized he was outpaced, and on he goes. So now Chan's going to have to really work. He's about 10 seconds or so behind the guys in front of him with McGrew, Lavender, and Eisler. But Thorman realizing it was better to keep his own race moving than to try and fight.
Yeah, exactly. As they went through, it was a good move there. Very opportunistic by Chan as they went into the fountain section, into turn 7, 8, and 9 there. But yeah, long way now for Chan to make up, sitting back about 15 seconds. But there we go as we jump back over to our leaders, Randall McGrew, Caleb Lavender, and Eisler. And you can see there's Eisler and Lavender each have about a 2-second gap to the car ahead. Again, try to stay in the clean air as much as possible while still staying in touch with the car ahead. And certainly given all the undulations and the bumps here, Larry, I would think that you don't want that lethal mix of understeer and the from running off your front tires and all the bumpiness here going through some of the corners.
And you can see it's a great shot of the onboard. You can see exactly how bumpy it is and how blind it is. You come around this turn 7, you really can't even see 8 till you're on it, and then that curb on your left, you do not want to hit that in one of these LMP2 cars. Maybe if you're in a Mustang or maybe even a GT3 car might rub that thing, but in this big old LMP2, no, you're going to keep your tires off of that, which just makes the track that much narrower. And now for Christian Eisler, who he had such a great first round here, now he's really got to work to try and get around Lavender, hoping McGrew doesn't get away. But these guys are pretty tight. Everyone's still a little bit cautious, I think, here in these opening laps and trying to not throw the race away. We might see some actual pushing when we get around that 30-minute mark with 10 minutes to go. But you see the pace they put down, all of them running in that mid-119s.
Yeah, and you can see very, very close with Lavender right now, fastest lap on track at a 1:19.47, and McGrew at a 51, and Eisler at a 58. So all within a couple thousandths of a second of one another there, and again maintaining those gaps. And I think you were pretty much spot on there, Larry. Is a long way to go here, 40-minute race. Let these drivers kind of get into a rhythm first before they start to attack. It's not like they're going to have to deal with traffic as this race goes on. It is going to be, as long as you can keep touch with the car in front of you, you know that you're not going to have really any outside forces that you have to deal with, like out-of-class cars, for example.
Yeah, and I think for all these guys, that's kind of a relief, because that's certainly in a lot of our other rounds, and it was a huge deal at Mosport a couple weeks back. But for these guys, it's got to be a lot of relief to not have to deal with that lap traffic, and they can really just focus on their pace. And for an LMP2 car, that's a very unusual thing. How often do you run an LMP2 car in any series on the platform or whatever, where you're not mixing it up with something slower? So for these guys, it really becomes more like your classic formula race. Just your car and your aero. But watching Isla there, he's really keeping close with Lavender, and I'm starting to wonder if he's thinking maybe kind of waiting for Lavender or even to make a mistake or trying to pressure him into one. He said, as opposed to being completely patient in this, because within 1 second, I'm sure he can feel that arrow, all that wash coming off of the back of Lavender's car.
Well, Larry, and there's a lot to be said for using every inch of the track and being able to maximize your entry and exit into these corners. But I'll tell you, in watching Lavender, he's not leaving a lot of room for error there. I mean, he is coming out of some of these corners, coming out of turn 6, for example, coming out of turn 3. I mean, he's putting the car pretty much right up to the wall, and just a small bobble, or if he turns in just a touch early for some of these corners there, again, it could all lead to tears.
And I wonder if Kristen Eisler trailing him is seeing that and recognizing that, wait a second, maybe Caleb Lavender's a little bit off his marks, and maybe he's pushing it hard. If I just sit here and wait just far enough to make the adjustment when he smacks the wall, and maybe I'll be able to take advantage of that. And sometimes you do that as a driver. You'll see somebody in front of you looks like they're just on their own personal limit. You let them make the mistake before you do. Good position to be in. You just don't want to get caught up in their mayhem. And for Lavender, maybe he's just trying to also maintain pace with McGrew, and maybe he's comfortable with that car being on that hairy edge. And he certainly is one of our faster drivers, having led a lot of those laps there in that first race. Caleb's very capable behind the wheel of one of these, so maybe he's just perfectly fine sending the message to the car behind him that, hey, I'm going to look like I'm out of control, so you better stay back there. And then meanwhile, he goes off and tries to catch Randall out in front. And Randall setting a pretty good pace here.
Yes, he is.
Did not expect this. Good for him, though. He's really coming out early on, and for the first quarter of this race, just kind of laid him down and let these guys chase him.
Although Lavender is starting to pick up the pace just a little bit, Larry. Of course, he dropped back to just about a 2 second margin back from McGrew, but that last time by turned in a 119 flat, a 119.07, almost 0.3 of a second faster than McGrew put in. We'll see if that was maybe just Lavender showing his speed, or perhaps the thought that maybe he dropped a little bit too far off of McGrew this early in the race.
Yeah, perhaps. Sometimes you go, okay, I wanted to give him a gap, but maybe not that much of a gap. But you can see their laps popping up there. Both of them now inching ever so close to the 118s, where they qualified about a minute, 118. Obviously, with a full fuel load here, going to be a little bit off the pace early on. But they're starting to pick it up as now, 9 laps in. They've got some relief tires. So you can see Caleb even hitting that curb there in turn 3. It's kind of a scary, or I guess it was turn 4. It's a little scary if you ask me to be popping that curb around here, because it really just spikes the car up in the air.
Yeah, and you can see all the corrections he's having to dial in. I mean, it looks, frankly, from the outside, it looks as though, those cars are very stable, not having to dial in a lot of corrections there. But it's pretty clear that behind the wheel, it's a frenetic attack on some of these corners here. In order to keep the car straight and in order to keep it off those walls that they really are getting bumped around and knocked around wherever.
Yeah, I've been to Belle Isle when they were running the LMP series there, and I've worked the races, and it is just treacherous to watch these. You don't realize how long these cars are until you see them in person. But to take a car with that long, essentially the length of wheelbase of a Super Duty, pickup truck, running around this place is really impressive to watch these guys. So when they start hitting curbs, with all the aero that they have under the car, you take that giant long car, suddenly it just becomes almost unmanageable in terms of being able to react to when the back end comes down. It's not some little Lotus that you can just sort of chuck around. These are very long vehicles. Yeah,
the rear end starts to go around, and it won't stop.
Exactly. So it's really impressive to watch the wheels and that onboard shots that we've seen them just kind of working those hands, try and keep these things under them. But it's a hairy game now to do this, knowing the pace that McGrew is doing out front is really making the guys chase him, but maybe his car is handling well enough that he can push that way.
Yeah, I mean, and it's there's so much to driving one of these cars. Just for example, in braking, in order to be able to get the car woed down. And, you know, we always talk about those smooth inputs between throttle and brake and easing off one, going to the other, you know, but with these LMP2s, isn't it right, Larry, that, you know, you're pretty much either on the brake or you're off the brake. You know, there's no, you know, there's no easing on, for example, or easing off in order to keep the front end underneath you.
Yeah, it's because of it's just a massive machine, but it's also so fast when it's working well.
Right.
And for McGrew right now, it's working well. But Lavender's, like you mentioned a little bit ago, is starting to inch away. Now under 1.8 behind him. Maybe realizing as he gets to the halfway point and he's got the faster car as his tires start to wear, maybe McGrew is set up for faster on fresh tires. That's something I always think about with these guys,
right,
because the tire wear and the fuel loads do change the way these cars handle. Just looks very smooth. Easy on the entries. Yeah, you don't see him smacking curbs. You don't see him getting a little tail shake as he approaches the corner exits like we were seeing with Lavender. McGrew looks very well under control right now.
Well, and I'm sure it helped that, you know, for at least for a couple of laps, you know, he probably thought, and he probably still does think, that he's got a little bit of breathing room there. He's, you know, he's not under constant attack, that he doesn't necessarily have to be looking in the mirror every couple of corners to see where Lavender is, knowing that he is still, you know, more than a second and a half back. So it allows him to just go in and, you know, and put his head down and run strong laps. And, you know, again, I think it is, as you mentioned, going to come down to, you know, A, tire wear, B, you know, there was no limit. Actually, I believe there was a small limit on the amount of fuel that could go into these cars, but, you know, seeing that they all should very easily be able to make the full 40-minute distance, you know, I think also will come down to how much fuel that these drivers put in, thinking that they can get to the end of the race.
Yeah, it just means how much the car will change over the course of the race. Well, so I think that'll be fun to watch. We kind of get closer and closer to this midway point. Also keeping an eye on Arthur Chan back there, who has easily gotten kind of left Chris Thorman in his dust, but not able to make any ground up in this top three. You know, he was about 10, 11, 12 seconds or so back, still about 14 back from this top three as we approach the halfway point. And for him, he's just turning laps and hoping maybe something happens in front of him to give him a shot at the podium today. But this front three looks so solid. That's a good shot, Arthur. Ripping around this place. He goes down that back straight. Great shots of these cars around here.
Yeah.
With the sunset there behind the skyline of Detroit. Really cool park out here in Belle Isle. Right across the other side of that back straight, you can see all the casinos of Windsor on one side. And of course, just on the Detroit side, you got the Renaissance Center, or the GM headquarters building as it is now, just on right there on the riverfront. You know, and just a few miles from where the old Formula One track used to be, right downtown. Right around, you know, basically up and down, not too far from the Renaissance. Used to go right between, what is it, Joe Louis Arena, right in that area. So
exactly.
Very
yeah,
cool
I was going to say, I thought it went right by the Joe, and yeah, downtown, one of the many Formula One street circuits from the U.S.
Yeah. So. And at some point, you know, the city decided they didn't want them right downtown, so they built this track out here on the island that IndyCar used for so many years. And like I said, they had some LMP races out here for a while as well, and IndyCar is still out there. A couple different configurations. I like this configuration the best. This is the configuration where we've got the longer stretch between turns 2 and turn 3, and then a couple 90-degree turns there at 3 and 4, where the old track had kind of a little bit of a shortened straight between 2 and 3, and it made a little S-curve all the way cuts over to 5. This is a lot more of an interesting track, and it's a great place to go watch a race if you're ever around the Motor City. It's a fun weekend to head out there. Some really good spectator views, and you know, you get some good food around the Detroit area as well. So just gotta promote my hometown there a little bit.
There we go. All right, so last time by, Lavender turned in fastest lap of the race at a 1:18.87. So first of the drivers into the 1:18s, and has really closed up that gap now to McGrew, whereas just 3 laps ago, it was 1 3/4 seconds. It is down to just about 1 1/4 seconds now, so knocked almost a half a second in just a couple laps, and you can see, perhaps now McGrew's going to have to drive with a little bit more urgency. We'll see what happens when he perhaps starts to pick up the pace, perhaps, and we can see now McGrew returns the favor. He drops down into the 18s as well, turns in a 1:18.94. That leaves Eisler a bit on, all these drivers are on an island, but leaves him a bit of an island right now, falls back a little bit further. He's now sitting almost 4 full seconds back from Caleb Lavender. And look at that, looked like McGrew got a little bit of wheel spin coming out of the slow corner there, and allowed Lavender to close things up just a little bit more. The margin now under a full second.
Wondering if he's starting to feel that pressure a little bit. Although,
looks like Lavender just had an issue. And you can see there, Larry, we talked about how close he was to the walls, and he's got the not the Darlington stripe, but he's got the Belle Isle stripe there now on the left-hand side.
On the left side.
All right, let's see if we can get a replay of it here, and it should be coming up in just a moment. And let's see what happens here as he comes down into the corner. Oh, that was rough.
So there's a bit of a bump right at turn in there. Did you mistime it? The car just goes into it like a terminal push, and that looks like kind of what happened there. And just completely broadsided that car right into the barrier there. Car seems to be going again. These are a durable car, I will say that.
Yeah, and so he had a pretty nice margin. All our top 3 drivers all had a very nice margin. Back to Arthur Chan. Chan has been able to more or less half the margin up to 3rd place, but still sitting quite a ways back. Still sitting about 4 seconds back from Lavender, but I'm sure.
I think he's closing quickly. I'm looking at Lavender's pace, and he is definitely off the pace. That damage is certainly hurting him. Arthur Chan's got to be smelling that blood in the water and ready to attack. Lavender, he's lost about 2 seconds already on this lap alone. And so I have a feeling I wouldn't even be surprised if he comes into the pits, tries to make a repair. As it looks like,
and there he is. That's what he does.
Yeah, that was he was limping around at best. So he's going to come in, maybe take a pit, and hopefully somebody else has another incident he can take advantage of. But for Arthur Chan, that was the opportunity he was looking for. Had that really rough start and just kept turning laps. Now he finds himself sitting in 3rd, and maybe he's saying to himself, "Come on, Randall, come on, Christian, let's help me out a little bit." But Arthur just turning laps and hoping for the best.
And the way we play out points here in the World Challenge, 3rd place is good for 30 points, 4th for 28 points. So he'd pick up another 2 points in the exchange. That would certainly start moving him up. But right now Eisler, our winner from week 1, is sitting in 2nd. Is obviously gonna if things ended the way they are now, would extend his advantage over Arthur Chan. Of course, Jennifer McDonald not being here this evening, that's going to drop her down towards the bottom of the order here after 2 weeks. But right now, as we're back on board right now with our leader in the LMP2 class, Randall McGrew, as we're just a little bit over halfway in this 40-minute sprint race in the Dallara P117s. And you can see now here Thorman is starting to close things down. Probably that's Lavender.
Ready to lap,
yeah, that's Lavender about ready to be lapped by McGrew. Pardon me.
Yeah, Lavender's gone in, taken on some repairs to get going again, and he's going to move right aside, let the leader McGrew go on through.
Yeah, so that's 2 unfortunate outings now for Caleb Lavender in a row, as he had to retire early at not Carolina Motorsports Park, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Yeah, same thing.
So close.
Yeah.
Carolina Motorsports Park. A lot of fun things happen there, but not
really.
P2 races.
Yeah, not much goes on at Kershaw.
But at Mosport, we had our races there. In fact, Mosport's a few hours drive from Belle Isle, where we are right now. So kind of right there across the neighboring countries as you're standing on Belle Isle. And you can, in fact, just behind that Motul sign, you can see that is actually the Windsor skyline behind there. That's
all right. And we're on board right now. You can see here as Eisler is starting to eye up Lavender, and Lavender is going to pull over and let our current second place runner get by as well.
So for Eisler, I'm watching his lap times again. He's about half a second quicker on that last time through than McGrew, and now without having Lavender between them, you might see him really try and set some pace here, put the pressure on McGrew. And again, this is a tough place to pass, but if he can get within a second and a half, 2 seconds before the end of this thing, maybe he can put some pressure on McGrew, maybe force an error. So I suspect Eisler might be seeing some qualifying pace out of him for the next 5 or 6 laps.
All right, and we had the track map up a few moments ago here on the screen, just to give us an idea of where our drivers are on track. And it looks like right now Thorman, who is currently running in fourth position from sitting back behind Arthur Chan there. He's about 40 seconds back. He's almost on the entire opposite end of the track from our top, from Arthur Chan. So still, obviously, we can see here a long way to go.
Yeah, and he's got some Belle bruising going on his left side as well.
Yeah, that D2D iRacing entry, the left rear quarters a little
out of skew.
Yes.
Yeah, left front there as well. Could easily have been that corner right there, the turn 6 wall. Could have been the same one that caught Lavender back there at turn 12. There's quite a few around here where your left side could take a pretty good blow. Being a lot of right-hand turns around this place. He's still moving along though.
Yeah, it's got
121s, 122s.
Yeah, you can see the rear end of that car getting awfully loose at times, however. Already dialing in a little bit, getting a little bit understeer through that corner.
There's that bump there. This is the spot where, he almost lost it there. That's the spot where Lavender lost it. You can see how hairy that car is right now. I wonder if that damage has got him a little bit of toe out, perhaps the rear.
Yeah.
He's just catching it as he's kind of turned this LMP2 Dallara into a drift machine.
Yeah, it does not look all that happy in right-hand turns, left-hand turns for that matter either. But
yeah, not much better there. As for Thorman, just he prefers some of the other vehicles on the platform, but he loves our Ricmotech series so much and contributes to it, and we appreciate that. But getting him out here, LMP2 probably not his favorite ride.
Certainly not after this evening, no.
No, no, it is not. So.
And Larry, as we check back in up towards the front of the field, it looks like Eisler in the last couple of laps has lost almost a full second to McGrew. Is now sitting, he was the last time we checked in, about 4 seconds back from our leader. He's now 4.8 seconds back from our leader.
Yeah, a little bit, as Randall maybe responded and saw that gap coming down and decided to lay down a few. You look at his lap times, last time by a 19.3. That's pretty quick for a car sitting on his 20th lap. Arthur Chan also turning 19.3s, but nobody in his vicinity right now. But from McGrew, just trying to make sure, if Eisler's going to cut a couple of low 19s, I guess I'll do the same thing and keep that gap where it was. As a driver, you pay attention to those things. You see that car behind you get closer and closer, and you respond a little bit. It's easier to respond now when you're 4 seconds up than waiting until you're 1.4 seconds and having them right on your tail, because it's a little bit more nerve-wracking.
And if you take a look at the timing pylon, we've got the information there. It looks like Caleb Lavender has decided to retire the car. So his evening is now finished, and that is the second retirement of the season for him. So hopefully when we head to round 3, which could be about a month from now, about the middle of October, we're going to be at Suzuka. Hopefully we'll see a little bit better outcome there.
Beautiful track, can't wait for that. But I'm just here watching this as Eisler just turned a best lap of the race at an 18.8. And not to be outdone, McGrew's was a 19.0. So both of them right now just flying around this place, pushing each other quicker and quicker. And this is that point where you go, okay, it's quicker and quicker. We're 21 laps in. When do the tires start to feel a little something? We saw McGrew had a little bit of slide on one of his laps just a few moments ago. We've watched, Thorman struggling with his car with the damage, of course. But you start pushing your laps around qualifying pace, but the tires aren't quite there. You really start to run that risk. And so I think Eisler and McGrew both, as the gap now down to 5 seconds. I think in this lap, Christian may have had a bit of an issue. But they start pushing and pushing, you never know. Somebody might just tap a wall, leaving the race in someone else's hands.
Yeah, exactly. That as those tires start to wear away on you, you push the car a little bit harder and harder. You get to that point of diminishing returns, and and perhaps that margin for error does decrease considerably. As we now take a look, coming out of that corner is our leader, Randall McGrew, and looks like he's about ready to put Thorman another lap down.
And McGrew just turned his own fastest lap of the race, so now he and Eisler have each done an 18.85. McGrew just did his on his last time by. Eisler did a 1:19.2. So again, about 4/10 improvement there for McGrew. But McGrew really pushing hard, and he's got best lap of the race here on lap 22. There's a magical moment where the tires are at their best, but after that, they start to fade. McGrew is going to be cautious not to overpush them now with a nice cushion of 5 seconds. Yeah, he's only got to make 12 more minutes. Around this place, that's probably only about, let's say about 8-9 more laps.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we were suspecting that this race would probably run somewhere around 31, 32 laps. So, yeah, that makes sense. And for every time that we say, whether it was Eisler or earlier on when it was Lavender, whenever they put in a fast lap, it seems like almost the very next lap, McGrew seemed to respond. Whether that's necessary or not at this point, again, with almost a 5-second advantage, I don't know. But I think probably the biggest, maybe the biggest challenge that he would see tonight, that McGrew would see tonight, would be how well or how easily does he take care of Chris Thorman here, and he gets by Thorman. Thorman pulls over and lets our leader by. There, so move Thorman a lap down from our top 3. McGrew currently, as we're on board with him, and Christian Eisler running second. Arthur Chan, last year's champion, running third.
McGrew and then on board looking very smooth through that section of turns 4, 5, and 6, and he's just looked like he's turning laps and enjoying it. Last time by it, nice, quick, but not crazy fast, 19.3, Eisler 19.1, so just a couple tenths swing one way or another. But for McGrew, that's all you want to do. You just want to be turning solid laps at this point and just avoid the big mistake.
Yeah, and again, Larry, during round 1, when we saw all of the drama happen in this class at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the one driver, and we've talked in other Rickmotech series how McGrew is perhaps one of the more aggressive drivers that we see. Certainly when we see him in the MX-5s, and when we saw him last season in the GT3 cars, certainly he was. But at Canadian Tire, he ran a very, very quiet race. So quiet, in fact, that we didn't see him put the car into the wall. We didn't have it on track, but he had led almost half the race in LMP2, and then again, when we got down to the final stretches, he was gone. Again, he certainly has the ability to just sit back, put his head down, and drive the car, which is what he's doing right now. As we are under 10 minutes, actually under 9 minutes remaining here in our 40-minute sprint for round 2 of the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge.
Yeah, and he's probably got about 6 or 7 more laps to make around this place. At this point, he's in a pretty solid rhythm, and watching that gap climb behind him as Eisler seems to have maybe even backed off a little bit, thinking that second's as close as he's going to get and to not bother pushing. So maybe Randall can recognize that and do the same thing, as he's just did a 19.0. Doesn't really sound
or
like
maybe
he's
not
going easy on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's still almost 0.3 of a second faster than Eisler that last time around.
And Arthur Tan just quietly having a terrible start and then working his way back up to this 3rd spot. Good shot of him right there coming down the straight. Yeah, it's for Arthur, it's one of those nights you just sort of take what you can get. Whatever points are available to you, you go ahead and grab them, and that's pretty much what he's doing as he crosses start-finish here down into turn 1. This really fast turn 1 2 complex. A lot of fun in this section. It's got that rise at the midpoint of 2 that he's got to be ready for. They go into this turn 3. Really almost a blind turn in. The curbing, it's out there. There's a little bit of daylight once you get down to it. It's hard to see. Nice little flick of the car through turn 4 and then set up for turn 5. A little bit of a bump in the middle of it. You can see it there. And as you get up to 6, again, there's a bit of a bump, and it's a rise. You got to get on the gas early to make it down this long back straight along the river to your left. You can see the Renaissance Center right in the foreground there at the sunset. As he comes into this just blind turn 7, so fast.
Yeah, very, very quick as you get, and then have to start switching back the other way as you go around the fountain section there. You've got the fountain. You can see it right ahead of you off to your right-hand side as you then come underneath that Continental Bridge, head back right, and then you've got that short run, fairly short run, here down towards the 2 final left-hand turns towards 11 and 12. You can see hard on the brakes there for a moment, and oh, so close to the wall as you round the final corner.
He's pushing hard.
Yeah, he is.
I'm sure he needs to, but he is.
Yeah, and there you go, and then you bring yourself back onto the front straight here. And that first turn, I hasten to call it a chicane, but the quick 1-2
like an
right and left, comes up very, very quickly.
At 19.0 was his lap time, so that actually was his quickest lap of the race. He probably wants us to be on board with him more often. He's going to put in laps like that with us calling his lap corner by corner. That's solid lap there for Arthur. Yeah,
and not far off the first and second place runners, McGrew and Eisler, who have gotten down into an 18.85, so only 0.15 of a second there. So Chan certainly pushing, and you have to ask yourself how would things be different if he didn't have that issue on lap 1, and it would be interesting to find out from him what precipitated that, because it didn't look like he had run into the wall or anything there. It just looked like he just lost pace.
And we've seen this kind of late race pace from him before all last season. A couple times, sure, late in the season, he may have started on pole. Early in the season, he was kind of the come from behind kid and was taking wins as everyone else's attrition and pit issues came to them. He just the race came to him. So here tonight, unfortunately, you're right, the opening lap there where he struggled, whether it was a connection issue or equipment issue, put him down a little bit. It would have been a lot more fascinating if he would have been up in the mix with these top 3, or when Lavender was there, the top 4 in the mix. But for Chan right now, just putting it in cruise control. Who's not putting it in cruise control is Christian Eisler, who just did an 18.6. You can see the lap time there. Goodness, Christian. Talk about really now thinking, hey, why not? There's 3 laps left. Let me throw down a flyer. And he did. Put a lap there for Christian Eisler.
Yeah, you can see he picked up almost 0.6 of a second that last time by. But again, just a little bit more than 4 minutes remaining, maybe another 3-4 laps here at most, maybe a little bit too little too late for Eisler, but still a very strong race.
Yeah, and he can see McGrew in front of him, and he can sense that maybe he can get close, but really with 4 minutes to go, it's going to take a mistake by McGrew to give Eisler a real chance. Eisler's just going to try. Maybe he's going to put down another qualifying lap. See what this time is as he goes by here. 18.9, so he's still turning 18s in consecutive laps, putting a little bit of pressure on McGrew, but at 4.5 seconds with probably only about, you might get a 3rd lap in here. Might be a little too late for Eisler. Good performance, though, coming back from that round 1 win, and to be right here in the mix here at round 2 at Belle Isle. This I think is one of those races where you just don't want to throw it away, and unfortunately for Lavender, that's 2 bad rounds kind of for him. But for Eisler, taking advantage of that and able to come back here, in position to finish in the top 2 after the opening round win. And McGrew, nice solid run here from pole. Great way to collect some points here in this series. As they go around with the crowd there, that's where all the big wigs, all the luxury boxes are all set up right there next to the fountain on that infield section. Roger Penske and friends always sit and watch the races when he's not in the pits.
Here we go as McGrew crosses the stripe to complete lap number 28, and just a touch over 2 minutes remaining here in this 40-minute sprint race. So we're looking at
white flag next time by.
Yeah, I was going to say should be the white flag next time by, given these 118, 119 laps that they've been running.
And look at that again, Christian Eisler, 18.7, his second quickest lap of the race. Now his last 3, there you see it, 18.6, 18.9, 18.7. he's chipping away, but had he done this 15 minutes ago and said, hey, we got a race in our hands, but doing this with 2 laps to go, he's still 3.6 seconds behind McGrew. All he's doing is, I guess he's just having fast. We are at the lowest fuel point in the cars. These tires maybe still got a little life left in them. And maybe he's just in that rhythm and, just feeling it. Sometimes you do. You just don't want to Nigel Mansell the race away.
No.
Slow down, start waving at the fans, and have the car quit.
Yeah, and realize that you still have another 500 yards to go to get to the finish line.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But for McGrew, it's been, he's got a lap and a quarter to go. It's kind of been a flawless night for him.
Yeah.
From pole, got to pull away, set the pace. No one could get by him early, and really no one's been close to him to even make a run at it since Lavender was maybe a second and a half back about 10 minutes into this race. And for McGrew, felt no pressure, felt no nerves. He's just hitting marks, hitting corners, and doing his thing. Look at that, 19-1 for him in this last time by. So he's not exactly coasting at home, that's for sure.
No, not at all. No, he's definitely keeping the pace up here, as we should be now working.
Are we going to get him 2 laps, or are we going to only get 1 lap?
Let's see here. We've got 38.50. Now I think at this point now he should be getting the white flag, as we're just going to be at about 1 minute remaining.
He's just on the back straight, though.
I think he should. I think we'll get one more. Should get one more lap out of this. Let's see.
You guys in the truck know any better than we do.
Yeah, this is where Dennis and Jonathan should be, talking in our ear, letting us know.
They'll let us know, and we'll let the audience know as soon as we know. It's going to be close. You can see the 30 seconds left there. May still be 1 lap to go. We might just get white flag by, as McGrew looks like he's about 10 seconds away from cross and start finish. So this could be white flag.
Yeah, here we go, Larry. We should get one more lap.
There's
as our leader. There he is, white flag in the air as Randall McGrew crosses the start finish line to start his 31st circuit of the Belle Isle circuit here. And Eisler, he's still closing things down. He's knocked almost 2 full seconds
last time by, but McGrew is just got it in cruise control at this point.
Yeah,
there's about 11 corners left here.
Yeah, Eisler might be able to knock off 0.6 or so at a clip here, but when he's still got 3 full seconds to go.
And you can see the time up there for Arthur Chan, also not to be outdone. He does an 18.9 on his penultimate lap. So these guys, between Eisler and Chan, they're just thinking, why not go lay some qualifiers down right here at the end of the race? McGrew is like, you guys go ahead and put up all the green and purple laps you want. It doesn't matter. For McGrew, he just wants to be first to that checker. Nice and conservative here. And you can see the gap closing, but again, for McGrew, it's conservative. Just stay off the walls. Turn 11, he's got to go through 3 more corners, and he's got this.
Margin now down to 2 seconds, but again, just a few corners remaining here.
Yeah, this is going to be a lap time of the 21s, but for Randall McGrew, he's not going to care. All he cares about is seeing that checker flag wave, and there it is for the win here at Belle Isle for Randall McGrew. And Christian Eisler going to come home second. Little flash of the lights there from him. And for Arthur Chan, salvaging a well-earned 3rd place there for him here at Belle Isle at LMP2.
All right, and there you go. There is that Axon. Oh, well.
Nice save.
Well, for a moment there, well, I guess Thorman would have had to make up an extra lap anyhow.
Tail between his knees as he crosses the stripe there to take 3rd.
There you go. Drift King Arthur Chan crossing the stripe and taking home the last step on the podium. And Chris Thorman crosses the stripe now, a lap down. All right, so hopefully here, although Mr. McGrew has brought that car to a stop, hopefully he's got enough fuel to get it around, or maybe he's just going to back the car up to the start-finish line. I think that's the plan, Larry. He's going to back on up to us here, and hopefully he can jump on out, and we'll get him into the commentary booth here in just a moment.
Alan Kulwicki it, and we'll get ourselves a quick commercial break and come right on back with the interviews.
Rickmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Rickmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com. Rickmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com.
All right, and we are back here at Belle. We've just witnessed our first race of the evening, our LMP2 race for the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge. And we're now going to bring in our winner, Randall McGrew, driver of the number 67 machine.
Randall, congratulations on this win tonight. Tell me a little bit about how this, from pole right all the way through the checker flag for you. Tell me a little bit of how that went. Randall? Randall, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. I forgot
there you are.
The button to talk.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about this this from green to checker victory that you earned tonight.
Well, this was the first track on the service where I was really thought that I could maybe make something of the sim racing stuff, and so I was really excited to see it on the schedule. So
Yeah,
this
you
is kind of my home track.
Yeah, you drove this place like it is your home, like you own this place. You came right out, set that early pole time, let everybody else try and chase it. They couldn't catch it. You went out there to start hitting marks, and we're watching the lap times come down between you and Christian. Were you out there pushing toward the end and recognizing how he was pushing, and were you guys like trying to trade fastest lap going on there at the end?
Yeah, I knew he was pushing. I had to save just a touch of fuel there in the last couple of laps, but it was all right. I was just kind of laying back and make sure I didn't plaster myself against any of these walls.
Yeah, very easy to do around here. How much different is it, I guess, to do a whole race like this without any traffic, as opposed to, you know, we had a couple weeks ago Motorsport and some of the other races where you get the mixed field? How much is that different feel for you going into a race or a different preparation?
Well, for a pack this small, it basically just felt like another practice session. I just didn't have the convenience of a quick repair.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, as a few drivers had seen for a while. In fact, early on, you were pressured a little bit by Caleb Lavender, and then he had his incident. Did that give you a bit of a sigh of relief? Were you a little worried about Lavender right on your tail for that first part?
Oh, big sigh of relief for sure. He was definitely biding his time behind me for a battle towards the end.
Yeah, he was. It's unfortunate to see that go away, but at the end, you just kept pulling away, and nobody really had anything for you. And you definitely showed that this looks like and acts like a home track, despite the Pittsburgh Penguins hat. I don't think the Red Wings fans would appreciate you in the profile as much as you call it your home. But, you know.
Hey, us Capitals fans don't appreciate it either.
We thrive on your hate. It's all right.
Randall, so great win tonight. Anybody you want to thank for this victory?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the sponsors for sure, Rickmotech and Proforma, Elite Texas Graphics, and all the guys at Extreme Motorsports 99 for putting it on.
All right. Well, great win tonight, and looking forward to you and seeing you in the next round in whatever other rounds or back here in the LMPs in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. That was Randall McGrew, driver of the number 67 entry, our winner tonight in the LMP2 race. So, Larry, why don't we take a quick break and get set up for race number 2 tonight? Our GT3s are going to have both our GT3 Pros and GT3 AM drivers take to the track for qualifying in just a few moments. And we have a lot to talk about because there have been some big changes to the iRacing service in the last week that probably will affect that race. So everybody, if you like what you're seeing so far, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click that notification bell so you can find out about all of the great auto racing, virtual racing that we have going practically around the clock here. And so we'll be back here in just a few moments. We are going to take that quick break. Thanks some of our sponsors. And you are watching the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge Season number 3 from Belle Isle. And we'll be back in just a few moments with race number 2.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
And we're back here at Belle Isle, the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry McLeod. And thanks again, once again, to all our great folks in the production truck, Jonathan Grabowski, Dennis Branch, bringing you all the great views from around beautiful Belle Isle. And so we just watched our LMP2 race. Next up is our 40-minute sprint for the GT3 cars. And Larry, you know, there have been some changes to the iRacing platform specifically related to the GT3 cars here just since last Wednesday that might really affect these drivers, especially if they haven't gotten a lot of practice time. One, we have a new car that's been added, the Ferrari 488 Evo. I'd say it replaces the older version of the car, but I guess technically you could have both of them here running, drivers running both of those cars, and we'll have to see if, for example, Bobby Childs or Eduardo Lorente take on that new version of the Ferrari. You know, we also have a lot of changes that have been made to the aero setups for each one of the different cars here in the class that might affect the setups that the drivers are using, as well as some tire changes as well, how quickly they get up to temperature, what you can set for minimum pressures for them. So a lot of what might be unknowns for these drivers as they go out on track for qualifying here. They're going to put in their 15 minutes alone qualifying, try to set fast time to set the grid for tonight's 40-minute race. Again, much like with our LMP2s, drivers are going to get 4 laps over the course of 15 minutes in order to set those times, and we'll have to see if perhaps the setups that these drivers had pretty much worked on probably for a number of weeks or a number of months, whether or not they had to just kind of throw them out with the bathwater and start from scratch here again in setting up for tonight's race.
Yeah, I think a lot of these drivers work a lot of their setups, but also I know that there's a lot of sharing of setups that goes on. And for them, that's probably the best thing that happens, as well as a lot of practice time. So I'm thinking that they've each had a chance to get their opportunities, to get their lap times in, get their setups as they wanted them to be. But certainly it does throw a wrinkle in the middle of a Rickmotech season that happens to cross over 2 different iRacing seasons. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody has switched to the newer Ferrari or how they adapt to the car that they're in, as we also know that the car to have, as it's sometimes called, sometimes changes from season to season. So as they go through a race weekend or two, we may find out did somebody's car suddenly get a gain. And of course, here in the Rickmotech series, they do a lot of bounce power adjustments anyway with weight and power changes. So they'll try and account for that and keep up with that as best they can. But it certainly throws a wrinkle in the middle of our season.
All right. Well, we just had it up on the screen here, and so I think Dennis and Jonathan are trying to give us the hint here. Let's talk about our results and the point standings as they now lie here in GT3 after just one round, again, last month at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And here's going to be another change in the GT3 class. Is not just related to car setups. If we can go back to the GT3 Pro standings there for a moment, gentlemen, thank you very much. So taking the win, and not a big surprise for us here, as he has been very strong both in World Challenge and in other Rickmotech series as well coming into this season. Elvis Rankin and the Apex Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan. It's a little bit surprising to see him in a Lamborghini versus a Porsche, but he had a very, very strong race, as he seems to always do. Elvis Rankin took the win with Evan Peichel and Mike Dam rounding out the top three. Mike Dam had a spin about halfway through the race, still managed to hold on from Tony Kernan and Andre Saunders to take that last step on the podium. And then, so that's your top five, and you can see the points up there. But here's the big change, Larry. We got word just before we went on air tonight that Elvis Rankin will not be joining us for the remainder of the World Challenge season. He's just gotten his real-life pro racing license, and he's going to be devoting the majority of his time this season to that. Again, we won't be seeing him here for the remainder of the season. So that is definitely going to open things up as we take a look where Evan Peichel, who finished second in that Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing entry, was only 4 points back from Rankin to begin with. We assume he and these other drivers are going to surpass Rankin probably after this evening, and we'll have to see how things start to play out. Now, let's go over and take a look at the GT3 AM class, where Julian Bell, and we should have Julian in just a few moments, hopefully, to talk with us pre-race. Julian took the win in GT3 AM, and I'll tell you, he was very, very lucky last round, as we had, I believe it was Tony Kernan in his Porsche 911 at one point lose the rear end of his car coming through turn 2, heading into turn 3 at CTMP, and Bell was able to just kind of sneak right underneath that car, whereas unfortunately another car ended up, and I think it might have been, actually, I take that back. It was Schwenke who spun his car, and Bell just avoided, and there was another car who actually ended up T-boning Schwenke at that point. So Bell got around and managed to hold on for the win in the number 52 Graphite Racing entry. And again, we should be talking to him in just a few moments. Jeff Wills in the Frito Sport Racing entry finished in second, with Eduardo Lorente finishing in third. And I am getting word now that Lorente is indeed going to be running in the new GT3 Evo, and Bobby Childs should be running in that entry in that new version of the Ferrari as well. So, should be interesting to see how they deal with that. Again, those cars have only been on the iRacing service now since last Wednesday evening. And,
not much time to get familiarized with that new car, is it?
Yeah, no, not that much. Supposedly more horsepower, supposedly a little less evil as well. So we'll see how those cars work out for them. And here we go, as we're still waiting for these drivers. I believe they're in their drivers meeting right now. They should be heading out on track for their qualifying session here in just a few brief moments. All right, so let's. So we talked about the changes there in the aero and in the tires, and also, obviously, the big changes there. My understanding, Larry, also is that in talking to some drivers that have run in another series, a GT3 specific series, is that it seems like with these changes, iRacing has actually gotten the balance of performance pretty close on. We had some cars, some of the GT3 cars, they show different obvious advantages in different parts of their game. The Mercedes perhaps, have a little bit more torque jumping out of corners. The BMW is very good on the brakes. The Lamborghini is good in a straight line. Again, lots of different advantages, but it seems that everything kind of evens out with these cars now. All right, and so it looks like Larry's having some technical issues. Tell you what, is we've got a couple of minutes before our drivers head on track. Dennis, why don't we take another quick break, and we'll see if we can get things squared away here. We'll obviously help out some of our sponsors again, and we'll be back in just a few more minutes as we get ready for our second race of the evening here tonight from Detroit Belle Isle for round 2 of season 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge. Once again, we'll be back in just a moment.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com.
All right, we are back once again here at Belle Isle. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod for the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge. And Larry, as we're getting ready still for these drivers to head on track here in just a few moments, we were talking a little bit about again, those changes in the GT3 cars. And as you mentioned, a lot of these drivers, they still use, in many cases, shared setups. So as long, I guess it's like the racing equivalent of crowdfunding. You have enough drivers that go and put in enough laps. Finally, they come up with something that works for all of them. But I've heard that some of the cars, for example, the Mercedes, especially if you were using the setups that most people had already worked with, ended up with maybe a little bit too much rear grip, and drivers that had been running them started to get a lot more understeer out of the packages. It may not just be so easy as going to somebody else and saying, hey, what's the setup you're using? Because in the end, all of these drivers at most have had about 7 days in order to come to grips with the platforms that they've chosen.
Yeah, and that's the challenge, is to give that a shot, because if you suddenly find your car does have too much rear grip, you got to quickly figure out how to make that adjustment, or jump into another car, I guess, is one of the other options. And we saw this, I think, about 2 seasons ago when I think it was the BMW and GTE went through this, where major change, suddenly the car was just undrivable. And so most of the drivers are given that opportunity to jump into something else in that series. And I think here's another opportunity for that, should the car you're driving suddenly become undrivable. It's what happens when you run your season in your series like Rickmotech off calendar from iRacing. They push out their updates and you're sort of stuck with them.
Exactly.
It's sort of like the manufacturer decided to release a new model year and the old one's no longer available, and you have to buy the new one even if you don't like it.
That's it. Whether you like it or not, that is the way it is. And I was surprised in seeing, after these changes were made, that I thought perhaps we might see some drivers maybe move over to one of the different platforms, either go to the Ferrari or maybe jump over to, say, the Lamborghini, but not a lot of jumping here, and we've got a decent split, actually, a very Porsche strong field here, as we know. We've seen Mike Dam run the Porsche pretty much exclusively over the last couple of seasons. Schwenke in the Porsche as well. Kernan, Julian Belle, who of course won the AM class, AM category at CTMP as well. So, you know, we'll see how things play out here. 2 BMWs in the field. Actually, take that back. 2 BMWs in the field. Looks like Andre Saunders and Evan Peichel. And again, Peichel finishing second in the pro category at CTMP. Had a very, very good run. Somewhat uneventful. He finished, I think, about 35 seconds back from Elvis Rankin at the finish there, but didn't really come under a lot of pressure. Again, after Mike Dam had spun the car while in third, fell back a couple spots, worked his way back up. You know, Peichel was just there having to work traffic. So we'll see here as looks as though, let's see, do we have cars out on course yet? I don't believe we do.
Not quite yet.
So, Larry, read any good books lately?
Yes, several, but motorsports related. Art of Racing in the Rain, always a good one. A true classic if you really want to know good books. If you're a motorsports fan, that's an incredible book to read. If you like dogs, it's also a great book.
It's also a good book, yes.
But no, so tonight it'll be interesting with, again, going back to the compare contrast with CTMP, that no traffic in terms of having to worry about those pesky LMP2s going flying by you up the back straight. Here tonight, it's just all GT3s and no pesky Elvis Rankin because he's off doing pro things off to the next level. By the way, I want to make sure we wish him all the best in his opportunity to get real racing done in the analog world. And very, very cool to see one of our own. I take him as one of my own, but one of our own here from the Rickmotech series on to the next level, and wish him the best. And hopefully he sticks around, watches our races, and likes us on YouTube and still watches us. Very, very cool to have him. Maybe he can come back and give us some tips. Maybe even coach the announcers. Maybe we can have a real pro announcer in the booth one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely. You're trying you try and get rid of me every single week, Larry. I mean, it's not that easy.
Hey, I'm just saying.
You have to get that other Greg guy in, I guess.
That other Greg guy, yeah. We've got a few. We've got a couple here in the Rickmotech series that maybe
we do.
Could make pretty good commentators here. So we're both kind of watching for our backs in this series.
That's that. Always. All right. So, Larry, I'm checking it out here, and I think we have about 2 seconds remaining in practice. And there we go. Practice is now finished, which means we should be rolling over to qualifying here momentarily. And indeed we are. And it looks like the race marshals are giving the drivers the info here, and we should start to see drivers head out on track for their 15-minute qualifying session here in just a moment. And if we didn't mention it, I think we did though during the LMP2 race. What we do is we send these drivers out for what is considered to be lone qualifying. Basically, when the drivers are on track, they only see themselves. They don't see other. They're not sharing the track with the other drivers, and they have up to 4 flying laps in order to set a fast time to set the grid for tonight's 40-minute sprint race. And again, the race tonight, a little bit different from the majority of the races on the World Challenge schedule. Again, 40 minutes versus 75 minutes, no required pit stops. And so the drivers will be able to make it to the end and should be able to make it to the end on fuel. We would expect these races to run probably around 28, maybe 29 laps for the GT3 entries this evening.
It should be pretty exciting racing. I know that what we saw there in the LMPs with only 5 of them out there on track and the aero issues, the GT3s can definitely race a lot closer. And I think battles between Mike Dam and Evan Peichel should be pretty strong near the front, but I think the mid-pack battles are going to be pretty fun to watch as well in this race. I'm kind of excited to get this qualifying session through and watch the green flag drop and see what kind of battles we get here in these GT3s. These are a much more supple car around this place. You can hit some of the curbs like the entry at 7 a little harder, even the corner at turn 3. You can hit that a little bit harder in these than the LMP2s. So I'm looking forward to seeing these things get trucked around a little bit.
Yeah, obviously with the LMP2 cars, you want to keep them off the curbing at all costs. And we talked about the effects that the long wheelbase had. Obviously, the suspension on these touring cars not the most forgiving, but they've got a lot more compliance certainly than you have in the incredibly stiff LMP cars here, as we're on board right now with Evan Peichel. Again, finished second in the pro class a couple weeks ago for round 1 at CTMP, and he is on, I believe, his first flying lap here.
Definitely one of the ones to watch tonight.
Yes. And you can see there already Larry using that curbing, try and open up those corners as much as possible. I think the challenge there is going to be certainly what part of the car, whether it's the front wheel or the rear wheel, that you get to the curbing with. You don't not want to necessarily go over the curbing with the rear wheel, otherwise you do have the chance of sending that rear end around. And again, not a lot of room here to recover if that happens. You know, Arthur Chan's little drift at the end of the LMP race notwithstanding.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to be doing that, but it may depend on your setup as well. If you got a good supple setup that you can really kind of throw the car in and just kind of partial drift every corner, maybe a slight understeer, which requires you to that. Might be a little easier to throw it around some of these curves, like going into turn 3, like that might be a little bit easier, depending on your setup. But if you've got a twitchy setup and going for ultimate raw speed, those curves are definitely going to be something you want to stay away from.
Yeah, certainly. Now, do you have, and I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past, do we have the issues with the touring cars, with the GT3 cars, much like we had with the LMP cars, where there's so much dirty air if you spend a lot of time right off the gearbox of the car ahead of you, that you might find that the car maybe is a little bit more pushy than if you hung back, say, 3/4 of a second back or a full second back from that lead car.
It's really not as bad here as it is in the LMP2s. I mean, obviously any car with any kind of aero is going to have a little bit of that effect. It's a big skip of the curve there.
Yes.
In turn 7, but no, it's not nearly as bad, which does allow a lot closer racing. You can really get at the speeds here. The GT3 aero isn't the most efficient, so I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that really pressuring bumper to bumper racing here. Nose to tail stuff that we didn't get to see in the LMP2s. Had this been a faster track, even at Canadian Tire, some of those faster, that place is all about speed.
Right.
Maybe you'd have some more of that issue, but here at Belle Isle, one of the slowest tracks that we're going to see, I think we're going to see a lot of side-by-side and a lot of really tight racing here in this GT3 field.
Yeah, and as Kevin Ford mentioned it during the track guide at the top end of the broadcast here, certainly going into turn 3, very heavy braking corner there is going to be a great opportunity for passing in these GT cars. Heading out onto the Strand Drive onto the back straight, turn 6 as well. Another very tight corner certainly allows cars to go in side by side. It gets very tight on exit, however.
Yeah, the run from 6 all the way down to 7 is the second longest straight on this track, and really provides another good opportunity. It's a bit hairy down there going to 7 because it's blind. There's that tire barrier wall just on the outside. If you catch too much curb on the inside, you end up going up on 2 wheels. But it can be done, especially if that lead car gets a bit of a rough go coming out of turn 6, leaves the trailing car a really good opportunity to speed on by. So I think we may see some of that here, as well as the turn 3 you talked about.
All right, and if we take a look now here at the timing pylon and see where our drivers currently stand, as a few of them have gotten times in the books now. Mike Dam is your fastest car currently in the pro class with a lap time of a 1:27.42. That is about 0.18 of a second up on Evan Peichel. Travis Schwenke, third fastest with a 1:27.83, so only 0.02 of a second off of Evan Peichel's times. Right now, Bobby Childs, the fastest of our AM category drivers, and that is in that brand new Ferrari, the 488 Evo GT3. Then we've got Andre and there's a bit of a change there. It looks like Andre Saunders now moving up, and let me just double check this. I wanted to make sure that Saunders is in the pro class. Just wanted to verify that. So Bobby Childs still your fastest driver in the AM category. Alexandros Theologos in a Lamborghini, the number 77 entry, currently second fastest with Julian Belle, running third fastest. And again, hopefully we'll have Julian in a little bit later. Julian was our winner in the AM category just a few weeks ago at Mosport.
Yeah, seeing Bobby Childs up there is always great to see. Our good friend Bobby, who's joined us in the booth over the last couple of races.
Yeah, matter of fact, I think he was in the booth with us for almost half of the last race. As a matter of fact, wasn't
I'll
the
look at
greatest
his
night
opportunity. He looks at it as a rough way to exit a race, but getting Bobby in here always spices it up. I don't know that I really want to see him, but if he shows up, it'd be a
it was a great time, and I think he mentioned that there is apparently one blade of grass coming out of turn 1 at Mosport, which is deadly to Ferraris. So
there is.
Yeah, if there's a blade of grass here at
It's turn 3
at Belle Isle, it might be problematic for him or any other driver for that matter. So hopefully it would be nice to speak to him. Hopefully it'll be better to speak to him after the race is over rather than during the race here, as drivers are still making their way around. It looks like Evan Peichel's turned in his 4 flying laps. We're on board right now with Tony Kernan in the number 7 Porsche. He also had an issue at CTMP. Kernan had gone off track coming out of turn 1. Drove almost the last quarter of the race with no front, I guess we'll call it a hood. I think, Larry, you mentioned that these Porsches are very good, or at least Tony's Porsche was very good at Holland Golf Clubs, if I remember correctly. He's got the trunk closed down, so we'll never know what drivers he's got in his bag here. But Tony managed to work his way back up into 4th position in the Pro class. A lot of these drivers, they had adversity in the GT3 cars at CTMP. I mean, very quick track, not hard to put it off there if you're pushing hard, but they were certainly able to recover. And as Kernan now, he's finishing up his, I believe, his 3rd flying lap, and currently sitting 3rd in the category. As we go on board right now with the, is this another one of the Ferraris, I think? Let's take a look here. Indeed it is. It's Eduardo Lorente. He's in the 2nd of the brand new Ferrari 48 GT3 Evos, currently running 6th fastest in qualifying here in the AM category. And we'll stay on board with him, see if he can improve upon the 129.48, which was the first lap he put in. Ooh.
Some fear into the walls, or the walls are putting fear into his fenders.
All right, as he comes around the final corner and across the stripe, let's see if he can improve on that 129.48.
And the wall will get your lap around here.
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
So while you can put a lap down, it won't count if you cut corners or rub the walls. So tough thing about this place.
All right, as we go back on board now with the number 7 machine. Once again, Tony Kernan. Kernan's 2nd fastest right now overall, and he is on his 4th flying lap. And he's trying to improve upon a 127.53. The bogey time right now is Mike Dam's 127.42. And it looks like Dam might have another lap in his pocket if he chooses to go out to turn another one. But right now, Kernan trying to find his way up to pole position, currently sitting on the outside of the front row as he comes down into the final corners here. And onto the front straight underneath the starter stand. And Kernan, what does he turn? He turns a 127.80, so does not improve upon his previous best time. Peichel is at a 127.60, so these drivers, you can see here, looking at the timing pylon, very, very close here in the pro category as we go back on board right now with Eduardo Lorente. Lorente did manage to move up the board here in the AM category. Turned in a 128.81 that last time by. That is if he can put in, and that's good enough for third right now in the AM category. If he can improve upon that by another 800ths of a second, actually 700ths of a second, he should be able to get past Theologus to start second in class or in category. So let's see what this Ferrari is capable of. All right, tell you what. Looks like while Lorente finishes up this lap, we do have Julian Bell, driver of the number 52 Porsche. Again, he was our winner at round 1 at CTMP. Let's bring him into the commentary booth here, Larry, and talk to him before his race.
All right, so we are joined right now with Julian Bell, the number 52. Julian, welcome to the Rickmotech series, and walk me through a little bit of what your preparation is like for a race here at this very tough and tight Belle Isle track.
Yeah, typically, I'm prepping with my my teammate who unfortunately couldn't make it tonight in the weeks prior, but for this one it was kind of last minute, just busy list schedules. So tried to get a couple sessions in, and then it was a lot of just the time that we had before the actual session started up tonight.
Yeah, so in a race like this where it's the sprint format as opposed to the long form that we had at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, how does that change the strategy in terms of fighting for position early or versus being patient? Do you switch that up a little bit here versus what you would do at a different track and different format?
Yeah, I think you have to, especially something like this compared to what we had at Mosport. It's not as flowing as a track. There's not as much space to pass, so establishing positions early on is going to be super important. Especially in certain sectors of the track, leading into the last section, if you can, carry some momentum there and be in the lead through that sector, it can definitely play to your advantage. So I think, we're going to see people trying to make those moves pretty early.
Yeah, I know you're kind of relatively new. I think it's your first season in the Rickmotech series. 2 races, a race and a quarter in so far. What's your impression or what advice would you give to somebody who's maybe watching these on the stream and wondering if they should join?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely having a lot of fun, and it's something for everybody, all of us guys and girls in North America. It runs at a great time, and the competition's great. Everybody's pretty friendly, and they run a pretty tight ship from what I've seen so far. So definitely recommend people come and check it out.
Yeah, very cool. And even beyond North America, as we had driver in the first race in South America, we've had drivers from Europe even join late in the night, and
very late in the night.
Yeah, turning global here in the Rickmotech series. So thanks for taking the moment here with us. I'll let you get back in the car as you're about 5 minutes away from going to grid, and good luck tonight. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk to you later.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right, Julian Bell.
There you go, Julian Bell, driver of the number 52 Graphite Racing entry, our winner in the AM category just a few weeks ago at I keep saying Carolina Motorsports Park, at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. All right, so
classic Mosport.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so as Julian's getting into the car, getting his car out on grid, why don't we run down that starting grid for both our pro and AM categories?
All right, starting on the pole in the pro category, we're going to have Mike Dan from Orion Racing. He's the Canadian just across the river. He's going to see if he can show us how it's done here on the streets of Belle Isle. Alongside him is going to be Kernan Motorsports' Tony Kernan on the outside of row 1. Row 2 on the inside, you got the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing's Evan Peichel. He'll be alongside Pocket Racing's Andre Saunders. On row 3, you're going to have Orion Racing's Travis Schwenke. He'll be lined up with Jeff Jacobs in the StreetSurvival.org entry. Over in the AM category, on the pole, it is Bobby Childs from D2DE Racing. He'll be lined up alongside Maple Syrup Racing. I suspect he's Canadian, Alex Theologus.
Good thought there, Larry.
And he is on row 2 on the inside, Courage Motorsports, Eduardo Lorente, and alongside, we just interviewed him there, Graphite Racing, Julian Bell. And then on row 3 on the inside, SKKJ Racing's Steve Daniel, alongside a Flying Tortoise Motorsport entry of Russ Ruddock. Winding out our amateur category of the GT3, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be intermixing very quickly with these cars, and I think we have some tight battles in both classes.
All right, Larry. And so once again, as our drivers are getting gridded up here, and we should have them ready for their pace lap in just a moment. There they are, getting onto the field here. As we go through this short pace lap once again, didn't need to talk about it so much during the LMP2 race, or the start for the LMP2 race, but it would be good to mention here for the GT3s, especially since we'll have the two different categories here running out, is that we do have a start zone. And essentially that start zone is the area at which point the pole sitter can start to accelerate. And once he gets to the end of that start zone is when we see the green flag given. And that notification will actually be given by the stewards as opposed to iRacing itself. That start zone begins just at about the entrance to the pit lane, and then ends at essentially that last bend, which brings the cars onto the front straight.
And we'll just wait for them, and typically you'll hear a green flag from a starter given to the drivers while we wait for it.
And here is the start of the start zone right now. We'll see if Mike Dam starts to pick up the throttle, and indeed he does. Flag. And there we go. Racing is underway, both in our pro categories and AM categories. Dam leads the field into turn 1. Tony Kernan holds off Evan Peichel with Andre Saunders, and then Travis Schwenke all in a row. Just back behind them, we've got our leader in the AM category. It's Bobby Childs, and now the field's starting to fan out as they make their way down to turn 3, Larry.
Kernan's not going to give. He's on that inside. He's going to hold it.
Yeah, there you go. And he runs Evan Peichel in the BMW all the way out to the curbing on exit. Peichel's going to have to hold on to third position right there with Andre Saunders. And then Schwenke, then Bobby Childs, Theologus, and Belle. So no changes at the front of the AM category as they now round out through turn 6 onto the back straight here, heading down towards the fountain section.
Yeah, Peichel and Saunders are going to, those two BMWs are going to be pressuring Kernan here early in this race. And for Mike Dam, that's what he wants. He wants those guys to fight behind him so he can maybe get a little bit of a gap and breathe a little bit easier around this tight place. But keep your eye as they come down past the start-finish and go through 1 and 2 and see if either Peichel or Saunders can get a run on each other or on Kernan going into that turn 3. As I mentioned, this should be tighter racing than we just saw in the LMP2 class. These guys are definitely not too worried about the aero. It's just going to be tight pack racing all the way front to back. You see the train of them coming down there between turns 11 and 12.
Yeah, and a little bit of a gap from Schwenke sitting in 5th right now to our leader in the AM category, Bobby Childs, in that brand new Ferrari 48 GT3 Evo. See now
Belle making the pass.
Oh, look at that, Julian Bell, our winner from CTMP just a few weeks ago. He now gets around Theologus, move him up into 7th position. Oh, and going into the wall. That is one of our Lamborghinis.
That is Theologus, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. That is the 77 car there. Theologus going into the wall just after Bell had gotten by, and that we'll have to see if that brings out a full course caution or not.
He seemed to have gotten the car on the toe pretty quickly out there, and unfortunately that car hits that wall in the nose of it's as flat as a pancake, which he could put his maple syrup on that his sponsor provides, but unfortunately for him, that means his race is done.
All right, let's take a look at the replay here coming up. And we'll see exactly what happens as Theologus goes around, and it looks like Larry...
The rise in that pavement there.
Yeah, he didn't get touched. He just looked like the rear end snapped out on him, and into the wall he goes.
We alluded to in the first race about, the famous incident with the Corvette chief engineer doing it. That's exactly how it went. It's exactly what kind of contact he had with the wall. In this case, unfortunately for Alex Theologus, that means it's not just take it back to the shop and fix it. It means take it to the pits and miss the race for Alex. That's unfortunate. That rookie had really, I'm sure, was looking forward to a good fun night tonight. Maybe he'll go ahead and take the repairs and get some seat time in for the rest of the race, but his night is pretty much done.
All right, so we were on board with the second of the two Ferraris, Eduardo Lorente in that orange and yellow number 9 machine, sitting right back behind Julian Bell. Again, that is the battle for 7th, and actually a couple cars ahead. Bobby Childs there, the leader in the AM category, all in a row. They're right stacked up behind the Ferrari, the first Ferrari there, the D2D E-Racing entry, as it looks like the AM category has slid back just a little bit from our top 5 pro category racers as they are working lap 3.
And that's probably right now the best battle is that Julian Bell, maybe his talk with us is inspirational. because he has moved up a couple of spots already early in this race and now finds himself pressuring the class leader there, Bobby Childs. So Julian got some early pace there in the Porsche in his GT3, trying to catch that new Ferrari that Bobby has. And then maybe, like you said, he won the first round. Maybe he's going to try to go back-to-back and wants to take the lead early. Started this race, I believe, in the outside of row 2 in this field, which puts him 4th in the field. He's now moved up to second.
Yeah.
And keeping an eye behind him as well, as you've got Eve Daniel there at the back of this train, pressuring them as well.
I'm glad I could be such an inspiration to the young Mr. Belle, as he's got a good run so far. As we're on board right now, taking a look, we've got Andre Saunders there in the black BMW, being pressured fairly heavily there by Travis Schwenke in the number 16 machine. Schwenke again trying to get a little redemption. Again, mentioned he had some issues at CTMP, and definitely looking to move up. Schwenke, actually, at the time that he had that spin at CTMP, it had been running in 3rd position. So certainly there he had the pace. We'll have to see how he does here.
I think he'd love to get a little redemption here in round 2 after how that round 1 went for him. And he's certainly pressuring Andre Saunders to try to make a move behind them. But here, looking at the M category, there is young Mr. Belle trying to keep up there with the slightly elder, more experienced in this series, Bobby Childs. Not going to go Bobby old, but, you know. I'll let him
not if we have him in the commentary booth during the race again. No, certainly not.
But young Mr. Belle, he's young because he's still rookie season here with Rickmotech.
Yes.
He might be an 80-year-old running those master's classes other places, but he's a rookie here in Rickmotech. Eduardo Lorente still in this battle as well, this top 3 in this AM class.
Yeah, if we jump, I don't know if we can jump back up to the front of the field there with Dam and Kernan. Very, very, well, I was going to say it was very, very close, but the last time I looked, there was about a half a second separating the two drivers, but you can see now Mike Dam starting to pull away just a little bit from Tony Kernan, but Evan Peichel starting to close things down just a little bit on Kernan as they came under the starter stand here to start lap number 5. Dam set the fastest lap, almost 0.7 of a second faster than Kernan that last time by. And you know, I'll tell you, it looks like Peichel might smell a little bit of blood there. They've been running both he and Kernan have been running very similar lap times. That last time by Peichel, about 0.15 of a second faster than Kernan as well, and still very tight here. Both of those drivers leaving the 72 of Saunders and the 16 of Schwenke a little bit further back. And Larry, you can see here getting a little bit later in the evening. Here we saw sunset in the LMP2 race, but it's definitely starting to get a little darker here at Belle Isle. The headlights on those GT3 cars definitely lighting the way for them.
And it changes your visuals, changes the way the car is going to feel around this place. And on this platform, you don't get a lot of races that run into the night here at Belle Isle. It's not like Daytona where everyone's kind of used to doing it, or even Spa. There's been races there that have been late. But here at Belle Isle, you don't get a lot of practice time. So all of a sudden your visual cues start to change, your braking points, like coming up into turn 3 at the end of this next straightaway. And you got to kind of recalibrate where exactly am I turning in compared to where I normally would. And you know, and maybe for Peichel, he's playing the patience game and thinking maybe he'll make that move if Kernan makes a mistake. But Peichel, let's not overlook Evan Peichel. He was second in this GT3 championship in the last season.
Right.
I believe it was by just a point he lost that championship. So a strong competitor. And we know that Tony Kernan runs in quite a few different cars around. Certainly loves this GT3 Porsche that he's in. Maybe, you know, we see him run strong races, and we see him get stronger through races. So this could be a fun battle here between Peichel and Kernan.
Yeah, and as we've been on board here with Andre Saunders in the 72 machine, Travis Schwenke right behind him. I've been watching the rear of that BMW, Larry, and Saunders really leaning on that on those rear tires. You know, they definitely seem to be holding up right now, but you can see the body roll in some cases
a lot of moving
on
around
that 72 machine. Yeah.
That big of a car, you really don't want it to move around much.
No.
As you start sliding these tires, the sim is really good about tires overheating, and it'll make you back off and cool them for a lap or two. At if you go 95 or 9.5 tenths, it'll let you come back. But he's in such a battle right now that if he starts to overheat those tires, he doesn't have the opportunity to back off because he's got Schwenke on his tail. And Schwenke grabbing the grass in turn 1 almost every lap.
Ooh, did you see did you see Schwenke's car coming over the rise there? Actually get all 4 wheels in the air. Certainly good to have the car straightened out there as they come out of that corner there. But you can definitely see, this is certainly not a completely flat course. Definitely some slight elevation changes along with the many
the elevation changes is the seams in the concrete. The elevation changes is the little crest from apex to exit. This isn't exactly the corkscrew at Laguna Seca for elevation changes, but I'm going to make a knock on Michigan roads. This is very representative of Michigan highways. If you've ever been to Michigan, it's a lot like other places in the upper Midwest where the snow and the frost heaves just play
wreak havoc as they get as the humidity works its way in.
Here on the streets, so to speak, this park roads here on Belle Isle, it is just a park for 360 days a year until they bring the race in for the weekend. In fact, there's a one-way road that goes around the island. It goes the opposite direction. It's actually a counterclockwise road, but they of course drive it here clockwise for our track. But it is still road. These concrete pads just heave and move around. That's where you see a lot of this buckling going on, and makes for an interesting racetrack here.
All right, Larry. So we're watching right now. This is the battle for the lead in the AM category. We've got Travis Schwenke, we've got Bobby Childs in the Ferrari. He's there in the D2D E-Racing number 88 machine. We've got Julian Bell, who was our winner in the AM category just a few weeks ago for round 1. And then we've got...
and he's going to make the move.
Yeah, here he goes, coming down the inside.
Just backs out of it, just pressured. But he may have pressured Bobby into really getting a terrible exit off of 3. And he can't make too much of a, toying around with Bobby out in front, Ken Bell, because he's got Lorente on his tail.
That's just what I was going to say, Larry. For every move that Bell tries to make on Bobby Childs, he's got to have a counter move ready for Lorente as that Porsche is bookended by the 2 Ferraris. And you can see here already is Bell kind of taking the anti-line going into this corner here.
Probably trying to get a better visibility to his braking point and really get a better gauge on how far ahead is Bobby Childs ahead of Julian Bell there in front of him. I think Julian may have realized he was leaving himself too wide open. He's kind of looks like he's checked his mirrors a little bit. And that gap now to Lorente is still very tight, but a little bit more breathing room out in front of Bobby Childs. But I can tell you, it's turn 1 and turn 2, and it could be the high-speed nature of the Ferrari struggling a little bit there. But that's where the Porsches, whether it's Julian Bell's or even Travis Schwenke's Porsche, looks so under control through those corners. They're so fast through there. Gives them an opportunity to get a run down to 3 that maybe they can take an opportunity of. And, of course, the leader there driving one of those Porsches there in Mike Dam and Tony Kernan in second, also in 1. So maybe the Porsches and the high-speed stuff, a couple corners that exist, have a bit of an advantage over the BMWs and Ferraris.
As we watch here as Dam is continuing to stretch out the advantage right now. Not all that great, only at just about 2 seconds on the nose here as Kernan, of course, has to watch for Evan Peichel sitting just a couple car lengths back from him, but our top 3 have really started to separate themselves out from Andre Saunders, in the 72 BMW. And Travis Schwenke in the number 16 Porsche. I think the gap now at about 6.5 seconds and seemingly expanding almost every single lap here. But still quite close up front here is, let's check back in and see how Saunders, he's got a little bit more breathing room, I think, than the last time we checked in with him and Schwenke. But I mean, you look at that BMW and it just appears to be, I don't know, maybe about 10% too big for the course,
It is definitely big. It's a wide car, but I tell you, the Porsches are just rough on front tires too. Yeah. So if you're thinking a big car going to wear its tires fast, I would actually suspect in this field to be the Ferraris that put up the least amount of tire wear of these 3. Those Porsches are just known to just abuse those front tires. Certainly the GTE version did.
Right.
Here in these slightly different weights and slightly less power GT3s, I suspect they still have the same issue. But you get 40 minutes on a set of front tires in one of those, and they're going to be screaming for mommy after a while. And Lorente, in one of those Ferraris, chasing one of those Porsches, would love to pressure the Porsche into a mistake and have a chance to go catch his Ferrari compadre up there in Bobby Childs. But right now, the battle, this three-way battle in the M class is definitely the best one on the track.
Yes. And as we've watched, and this is a couple times that we've been on board and behind the wheel here with Lorente watching this roll bar cam, and I contrast this compared to the in-car views that we had in the LMP2 class. The Ferrari just appears to be very, very stable. You're not seeing you're seeing an economy of motion behind the steering wheel there. You don't see Lorente having to dial in a lot of correction behind the wheel. At least at this point in the races, we are just about 15 minutes in, so a little bit less than halfway through this 40-minute sprint race. The car just seems to be handling very well. As we're going to go on board right now, jump back into a replay here with Andre Saunders in the number 72 machine, who's given up a position to Schwenke, and there it is, as you can see, is the rear end of that big BMW, where it just kept moving.
Finally, the tail finally wagged so far, and it cost him a bunch there going at the end of that back straight into that turn 7. And you over brake, you get a little bit of a wiggle there, and he smacks that wall. Hopefully for him, he's not fully damaged. Still, though, losing ground to Schwenke there for 4th place, as Saunders has dropped to 5th.
All right, as we go back to live action
in the background, still wiggling away. It's a great thing about the night lights of the headlights here in the night races. You can really watch the angle of them as the car wiggles through a corner. It's a great visual.
All right, as we're on board now with Schwenke, who no longer is fighting for that 4th position. He's continuing to stretch things out, it looks like, over Saunders. And there's Saunders now, and you can see as the BMW comes out of that corner, just there's that extra, just a little wiggle from the rear of the car, I think, as he impacted the wall there. Not the straightest any longer. Looks like got some damage in the left front there. Might have thrown the toe out at the front of the car a little bit, but I'll tell you, Larry, it doesn't look like the rear of the car is necessarily following where the front of the car leads it.
Yeah, the tail may have wagged a little bit too much now. Yeah. The tail is wagging the dog, so to speak.
All right, and here we go on board now with Lorente and Belle. And they've both lost the scent of Bobby Childs to a little bit of an extent there. Looks like a couple car lengths now separating Childs, our leader in the AM category, from Belle and Lorente. But Lorente in that Ferrari all over the back of the Porsche. And we said earlier, it looked as though the Ferrari just seemed to be very much planted. And you start to wonder if perhaps the Porsche is starting to experience some tire degradation at the front of the car there, maybe getting a little extra push. You can see the inside front lifting there through that corner just a little bit. But the Ferrari just seems to be on rails at this point, Larry.
It really does. And, that's a good sign if you are, Lorente, trying to pick up that 2nd spot there in this AM class, thinking maybe late in the race you'll have more tires left and the car in front of you using up more of theirs. So it's a good sign for that. It's a good sign of stability and predictability. So if you do need to make a move late in the race, you have more confidence in the car that it's not going to make an odd move on you. So I think the Ferrari's very, very strong right now in the hands of Lorente and Childs. It's going to be interesting as the darker and darker it gets for these guys.
Yeah, as their views of their braking, their braking markers and whatever landmarks that they were using to go into corners gets shorter and shorter. Although, look, if you're only a couple inches off the bumper of the guy in front of you, you don't have you
can't see much
access.
Anyway.
yeah, I don't think it matters all that much. But you know, certainly if you get some free track there, the levels of concentration go up considerably. As we jump back on board here right now with our leader, Mike Dam, who is having to not use the bumper of a car ahead of him. He's using those headlights to guide his way around Belle Isle. He now has just about and actually this is about the same gap that he had the last time we checked in, just about 2 seconds over Tony Kernan's number 7 Porsche, and with Evan Peichel in the BMW sitting back in 3rd currently. But as Dam comes onto the front straight, completing a lap number 14. We're just a bit under halfway here at Belle Isle in our 40-minute sprint race for the GT3 classes, both the Pro and the AM categories here in the World Challenge.
And those Porsches are definitely scaring those walls. You can see even Mike Dam, your leader, even he was getting just razor close to those walls. But sometimes you get in that rhythm, you just do it. You just hope you can do it another, 15 times before the end of this race is up.
Yeah, and we were talking during the first race about how close some of our LMP drivers were getting close, how close they were getting to the walls and not leaving a lot of margin for error very early on in the race. And we actually saw it bite a couple of them as the race went on. Yes, certainly. Here, we're just about halfway through this race. There's still a long way to go for Mike Dam as he pops over the curbing there, and you can see the rear end come around.
I'll tell you what, Kernan is taking another half a second out of Dam's lead over this lap. In fact, just pretty much on this lap. Perhaps the bit of a blink of the eyes, because that's what happens around here. You start staring at the reflections, and it really wears your eyes out. And so if you're not quite used to that, you don't have a lot of practice time on this, how to save your eye energy, I guess, so to speak. It really can hurt you. And for Kernan, he's taking advantage of that right now. It's going to be a pretty good lap for him.
Yeah, and I wonder how much as they come onto the front straight here, and not having driven Belle Isle or really any of the street courses in the dark like this, I'm wondering, obviously in the sunlight you have this. It's like you're running through a canyon, and I kind of look at it. I guess the closest equivalent I have to this is actually at Watkins Glen with the Blue Armco so close to you on either side. But I wonder, once you get into the dark, and and you just have the headlights, they're certainly lighting up the asphalt in front of you or the concrete in front of you, but they're also lighting up those bright concrete as we see here Lorente trying to make the move on Julian Bell.
Bell's in the grass on the outside of 3. He's going to hang on to it just a little bit, though, but there's a lot of pressure right now as between Lorente and Bell.
Yeah, this is as this still goes on, and you can see Bobby Childs now opening up about a 2.5 second advantage. So as the battle goes on for second in the AM category, starts to move away. But I'm wondering, Larry, just as the lights on these cars are reflecting off of the concrete pavement, how much the reflections off of the seemingly never-ending concrete walls directly in front of you starts to affect your vision, and how it's not just tunnel vision, but you start actually bringing your eyes maybe even a little bit too close to the nose of the car, and you just don't end up looking far enough ahead because, well, frankly, you can't, even with the lighting.
Yeah, definitely. You look at what you can see when the lighting is only in front of you. That's all you're going to see, and you end up staring at that, and it wears in your eyes. It exhausts your eyes, and it changes your entire perspective. And now this is where one mistake could just cost you. This track is treacherous anyway in the day, but hey, it's Detroit at night. It's never the safest place to be, and here we are in the track, and not the safest thing to be doing. You better drive right and get it right, or those walls will end up biting you.
Yeah, exactly. And so as we keep watching this battle right now for second in the AM category with Belle certainly starting to drive a very defensive race with Eduardo Lorente behind him. You can see Belle once again going off of the grass.
Lorente's chance. He's on the inside of 4.
And they'll come through side by side. But, of course, the track is going to switch back to the left going into 5. And it looks like Belle's going to be able to hold off Lorente, at least for the moment here. As we'll see then as they come onto the back straight, make the run down towards the fountain, whether or not Lorente can make a move. I was just going to say that as Belle was starting to get very defensive and starting to compromise his corner entries as was necessary to hold off Lorente, the one thing I noticed is for a while it looked as though Lorente was almost mirroring or basically duplicating the lines that Belle was taking, as opposed to maybe opening up some of the corners and essentially letting Belle run himself ragged and off track. And he had the opportunity there for a moment, but I just don't think Lorente was in a very good position to take advantage of it, because he's actually running almost the exact same lines that the car ahead of him is running.
I think that could have been a part of it. I think also that opportunity there he had is that Belle had gone wide into the grass section there at the edge of 3. Lorente was on the inside. Lorente had the line going into 4. But I'm not sure that Lorente could see how wide Belle went coming out of 4.
Yeah, quite possible.
And he got alongside. Look, if you have different, let's get technology of sim racing. Some folks do it with a single screen, some do it with triple screens, some do it with VR. I suspect that Eduardo Lorente is not in VR. He couldn't peek next to him and see how close that was. He may be on a single screen and just said, I don't know where he is, but I don't want to take both of us out, so let me just stay over here, and gave the corner back.
And gave it back to him just to be safe.
And you could tell that because the gap between them, and they weren't mirror to mirror. There was a car width between them, and I just suspect that either driver may have not quite known where the other one was. Makes it even harder being a night race. There's no extra reflections or anything you can see in your side mirrors or anything, and that may have actually cost Eduardo Lorente an opportunity to get by Justin Belle here in that turn 3 and 4 complex.
Yeah, and you can see here, and this time by Belle doesn't run into the grass going and entering through turn 7 and going into the section here, as they'll start to roll back out. But certainly you can see Belle basically starting to throw the car around quite a bit, and I think a lot of that is because he is taking that very defensive posture. But the smoothness that he had certainly at CTMP a couple of weeks ago and early on in this race, as he was attacking Bobby Childs early on, is gone. And you can see, both of these drivers now certainly using the curbing quite a bit more, but we're seeing a lot more oversteer out of that Porsche. It looks like it's having a lot more trouble putting power down through corners compared to the Ferrari at this point.
Yeah, great onboard view. You can see how you kind of have to peek around the corners of the light. And if he could stay with Bobby Childs out in front, it gives you a bit of a daylight to some sort of target to fixate on and maybe try and catch him. But the further the Bobby gets out in front of him, the less you have of that. You can't really use it as any kind of a beacon for you, and you're stuck just having to go by what's in your mirrors. And for Julian Bell, that's a whole lot of Eduardo Lorente in your mirrors.
All right, let's drop a little bit further back in the field. We've got Andre Saunders in the 72 BMW again, perhaps dealing with a little bit of
right around that same time where Julian Bell had that incident. We almost had the pass there by Lorente. There was something that went on with Andre Saunders, and he ended up in the pits, and I think he may be out of this race right now.
Yeah, let's see here.
And that's left Schwenke, a nice solid 4th in the pro class.
Yes.
The battle to watch, though, is this one right here. This is the Kernan. Where we're talking. Last time we checked in, it was about a 1.5 second gap from Kernan up to Mike Dam. That has been whittled down to just 1 second. And just like always, I say it seems like every week, Tony Kernan is a late race charger.
Yes, he is.
Keep your eye on this guy. Do not sleep on him halfway through, because that seems to be about the point. He wakes up while you're sleeping on him, and he's going to come right up and take that move and take that opportunity if he can. And he's going to put pressure on Mike Dam here as we are about 13 minutes to go in this race.
Yeah, and much like Kernan is a late race charger, I look back, obviously we only have one round so far to look back on from this season, but in previous seasons, Mike Dam has perhaps, especially, a lot of it was he was trying to play catch up to an Elvis Rankin, but we saw in many cases where perhaps towards the end of the race, things maybe started to fall apart a little bit for Dam as well, and he had some issues. And actually, I think he had an issue within the last couple of laps here at Belle Isle last season. So we certainly want to take a look at that. I'm sure it's in the back of his head as well, but Kernan definitely starting to close things in. That last time by that last time by was only about 0.05 of a second faster than Kernan, but over the last number of laps, Kernan has been running consistently faster laps than Dam, and I think it's going to get to the point where, and this has got to be challenging as well, Larry, as opposed to daylight, to be able to look back in that rear view mirror and see exactly where a car is, as opposed to now basically just getting the glare of headlights. So it's definitely a little bit more difficult until you've got the car right up on your bumper.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting as the lead car, you do have a lot of that glare behind you. Sometimes I've done a couple of night races on the platform, and one of the things I run into is the cars behind me. My car lights up, and the white roll cage gets so reflective it lights up the whole cabin for you, just because you've got some pesky guy behind you trying to make that pass. If you're in the position that Tony Kernan's in right now, this is just beautiful for you, because you got a nice target to fixate on, to follow an easy line. He's helping light up the track in front of you. You got nobody pressuring you behind. All you need to do is just hope that he makes a mistake, or you get within that 5-lap window and you can really start maybe looking for opportunities. You don't have to rush it, but you can certainly be the aggressor a little bit and use this as sort of a point to make pressure.
Ooh, did Kernan tap the wall there coming out of
I don't think he did, but he got 13. Really close. He got really close.
It looked like he might have bounced off of it, but certainly didn't lose any speed here. But he's lost Larry in the last lap almost a half a second to our leader, to Dam, who's gotten a little bit of breathing room.
Mike definitely responded there to Mike Dam to try and say, wait a second, it's getting a little bit too close for comfort. I better lay one down. He did himself a 28.2 to Kernan's 28.5, so a couple tenths pick up there, but I think this is going to see this go back and forth here for the next 10 minutes. And if you're Kernan, you got to get this within a half a second to have a shot at any one of these classic opportunities, like going into 7 or going into 3.
Yeah, in the last couple laps, I have noticed it looked as though Dam was definitely having trouble getting power down out of some of the slower corners, out of 3, also out of 6. Perhaps didn't affect the Porsche of Kernan as much, but we'll have to definitely watch this as the race goes on. As we jump back now, there is the number 88 Ferrari of Bobby Childs, our leader currently in the AM category, and about 10-15 car lengths back, Julian Bell and Lorente, and it looks like Bell's gotten a little bit of breathing room.
And Bobby's given up about a half a second a lap here, so it's certainly not over in either class, as Kernan's pressuring Dam, and now Bell's going to be back on pressuring Childs, and Lorente isn't going anywhere. So I think we've got battles in both classes, and this is going to come down to who can either have a little ice in their veins, or who can make that hero pass within the last 2 laps to try and steal a win. Is it going to be Kernan? Is it going to be Bell? Or is it going to be Lorente going all the way past Bobby Childs? We'll have to wait and see. But Childs should probably start to feel some pressure here very soon, as this lead is dwindled just a little bit.
Oh, look at a little bit of, well, that wasn't as dramatic as I thought, but a little spark in the air there as Childs went over the curbing.
A little spark, a little puff of dirt coming off of that turn 1, turn 2 S curves, using everything that's there that's at your grasp to try and carry some speed through there, especially at 1. You really want to set up a nice early turn in for 2, so you're not still turning when you're going across that little dip in the pavement. So it helps you if you grab a little bit of the grass in 1.
Get the car straightened out there, yeah.
Bobby here now extending his lead just a little bit. He's kind of responded. So wait a second, those guys are getting a little bit too close. Get this thing back up towards 3 seconds, as we're now down inside 8 minutes to go. As Theologos is back on the track. Good to see.
Indeed he is, after that very early impact with the wall.
Probably had a lot of repairs, but glad to see him back. And he's only about 6 laps behind Andre Saunders, so if Saunders doesn't come back, maybe Theologos will get around him for that spot there. Of course, he's got to get all the way past Russ Ruddock in class.
Right.
But for Theologos at this point, it's seat time. It's practice in this car, in this Lamborghini.
All right, and he's going to slide on by.
Russ Ruddock, I think he was going by.
Yeah.
Probably trying to get a lap back.
Yeah, and obviously the 2 different light packages there as well, I think, is the other Lamborghini not lighting up the road nearly as
the endurance lights versus the regular night lights.
Yeah.
The sprint lights, as you can see there. The endurance lights in Lamborghini, the big giant center light. like that. Number 77, Logus.
All right, as we jump back to the battle for the lead now with Mike Dam, the 93 Porsche with Tony Kernan, back to just about a second. So a little bit of a yo-yo going on here as Kernan had dropped back to about a second and a half, almost 2 seconds. He's now within a little bit less than a second on our leader, Mike Dam.
See, this isn't like running at Daytona when they run the night, you know, or some of the other tracks. There are no lights around Belle Isle. All you have are the headlights in front of you. When you run Daytona, you got some of the infield section there. You got some lighting that they put into the track because obviously the NASCAR Oval runs a whole lot of night races. But here at Belle Isle, it is nothing but moonlight beyond the walls here. And so all you have are the headlights you bring with you. As you can see, extra glare, how dark it is when you make those turn-ins. Just shadows. I would say
it reminds me of a night race that I ran at Charlotte on the old version of the Roval back in, gosh, it must have been like 2012, 2013, without the chicanes. And there was one light pole that they stuck up, a temporary lighting solution that they stuck up in the infield, which kind of lit up turn 2, but that was it. There was nothing else. And I mean, it was basically just driving around blind because there was just no lighting at all, because the entire grandstands or anything, there was no light there because, well, gosh, nobody was watching us at 10 o'clock at night. But very similar here again, although you've got the reflections off of the walls, which I think probably is more. Ooh, there's Mike Dam, almost
so close,
almost smacks the wall. There, I think is probably more disconcerting than anything, to basically draw your attention away from where you want the car to go.
Yeah, it really does make it difficult. And I can tell you right now, Kernan, he's swinging between being 0.9 back and 1.2 back. And then I'm kind of also watching the gap between Bobby Childs and Julian Bell. It had gotten down to 1.5, now back up closer to that 2 second. It is far from over. Both these two races, the front two, are within striking distance. That one mistake, even if it doesn't, not a huge wall collision, just enough to kind of lose your momentum, could bring this into a side-by-side scenario in either class.
Yeah, and Larry, our leaders, Dam and Kernan, I think that's Russ Ruddock that they're coming up on right now. Not couldn't tell for sure. That is Ruddock in the number 95 Lamborghini. I'm wondering. Certainly he's going to be able to tell from his relative screen who that is coming up behind him. But not a ton of places to pull over here, especially if Dam is under attack. But it looks like
that's the best place. Coming out of 11, just get yourself over, let those two leaders go on by. He'll recognize that it's both of them. There he goes. Good recognition for Russ, letting those two on through.
All right, as we're now down to just about 3 minutes remaining here from Belle Isle for our GT3 race, round number 2 of the Rickmotech World Challenge. We've got our leader, Mike Dam, in the number 93 Orion Racing Porsche, then right behind him, the Kernan Motorsports Porsche, as we jump a little bit further back into the field. And let's jump back to this AM category battle right now, where we've got Bobby Childs, Julian Bell, and Eduardo Lorente. And again, last couple laps, it looked as though Lorente, who had certainly been challenging for second, had dropped back, but he's made his way back up. He's just about 3/4 of a second, about 2.5, maybe 3 car lengths back from Julian Bell. But things have certainly tightened up amongst all 3 of those cars, as the gap now only it's a little bit less than 2 seconds from Childs back to Bell. Childs still with a little bit of breathing room, but Bell not with any breathing room at this point, because it looks like Lorente now, just in the last lap, has really closed things down once again.
Well, this is what we talked about a little bit ago, is does the Ferrari have a little bit more in the tank for when it comes to tires at the end of a race than perhaps the Porsche with its notorious front tire, where perhaps Lorente is going to be able to get an opportunity here on the next, at this point, maybe a lap and a half or 2.5, depending on when that white flag shines for Mike Dam and for Tony Kernan. But he may find himself with an opportunity here if he has just a little bit more tire left in the bank to take it to Julian Bell.
You know, and that Ferrari's still looking awfully strong, awfully well balanced throughout the length of this 40-minute run. Certainly, Childs hasn't set a wheel wrong as well. Of course, again, he hasn't been under pressure for a number of laps, but this new 488 GT3 Evo looking like a very strong package, Larry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I may have to get myself one and try it. I haven't had that opportunity. Oh, it looks like that Kernan just tapping the wall there, coming out of 4. See if he's took on any damage from that.
Yeah, and if he didn't tap the wall, it was a last-second little
think
adjustment there.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of concrete adjustment to the left side of that car. As he's definitely lost his pace a little bit.
Yeah, he's now almost 3 seconds off of Dam. Lost a lot of ground just in the last half lap or so. So yeah, certainly, and of course that's probably going to affect things throughout the rest of the lap here. Of course, he's got about an 11-second margin, or actually probably about an 8-second margin back to Peichel. You know, certainly if he can, stay strong now for another
15 seconds to go, I'm thinking this might be a white flag. It's going to be close. Sometimes the sim throws a white flag early.
Let's take a look. 10 seconds as he's going to come on. Yeah, we're going to have one more lap, Larry, I think, here as he comes around. And there we go. As we hit the 40-minute limit, we are on our last lap here. Mike Dam in the number 93 Orion Racing entry leads the field. Tony Kernan now back almost 4 seconds back after that impact with the wall last lap. And he's just, I think, hanging on for dear life here. But he's got a pretty good gap back to Evan Peichel as we jump back now to the battle in the AM category. And it is right now a battle for second with Eduardo Lorente. He knows he's on the last lap here. He's closing things down on Belle. And Belle is,
he's trying to break the draft a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if Eduardo's close enough to make a move going into 3. Otherwise, his best opportunity is he's going to make a
Look
dive
at
bomb.
That late lunge. Not close enough, but does he
enough
push?
The pressure.
Yeah, he pushes Belle a little bit wide on exit, but he was really way too far. That was beyond optimistic, I think. But
perhaps knowing that Belle's gone wide there a few times, maybe pressuring him to go wide one more time. Maybe it wasn't a terrible idea, knowing this place is tough to pass. But unfortunately, probably leaves him a little bit too far behind to make a move. Going into 7 here in 2 more corners. But here we have the leader, the man that's led since the green flag drop, Mike Dam, trying to catch a victory here at Belle Isle as he comes around past pit in under the starter stand. He will take checker flag and the win for Mike Dam in the pro class. And Tony Kernan, a few seconds behind, should get himself a second place here in that pro class, second overall in this race here at Belle Isle.
Yeah, so Kernan drops back, crosses the stripe almost 5.5 seconds back, so lost another 1.5 seconds on the last lap. Peichel crosses the stripe. He will take the last step on the podium in the pro class. Let's take a look now here in the AM category as we've got Bobby Childs flashing his lights in the Ferrari as he crosses the stripe. He's going to take the win in AM. Julian Bell holds off Eduardo Lorente at the line margin, just 0.4 of a second. Lorente will finish on the last step of the podium in the AM category. Then let's take a look here. Steve Daniel, I believe he crosses the stripe. He's going to finish 4th in AM. Jeff Jacobs should be crossing the stripe here very, very soon in the 38 machine. He's got just a couple more turns remaining here in the streetsurvival.org entry. He comes across through the final bend now. Oh, actually, I guess he's already crossed the stripe. There you go. And he will finish in 5th in the pro category. Russ Ruddock right behind him. And I believe Ruddock is the last running car on track with Saunders, Theologus, Marshall, and Marshall is the track marshal, so Saunders and Theologus.
He's always at the tail end, that Marshall guy. Just can't quite get a break.
Yes, he is. So there you go. That is the finish here. Although we didn't see them cross the stripe, rest assured they did. Mike Dam making his way down the pit lane now for the final time, and we will have our drivers here. In just a few moments, we'll have some of our podium finishers from GT3 in in the commentary box for their interviews. All right, so Dennis, do we want to take another quick break before we do the interviews, or should we just hold on? All right, so tell you what, why don't we take rather than staring at the eternal darkness here, Larry, and we will be back in just a few moments to interview our podium finishers here from our GT3 race. You have been watching the Rickmotech World Challenge from Belle Isle, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Rickmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Rickmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com. Rickmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com.
All right, and we are back here at Belle Isle. We've just watched race number 2, our GT3 racers for round number 2 of the Rickmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Larry McLeod. And Larry, why don't we, now that we've got them lined up and all given racing stories, sitting in the state, our second place finisher in the pro class in the Kernan Motorsports entry, Tony Kernan.
Decided to quit working, so I had to.
Hey, Tony. Yeah, so we've got Tony Kernan here with us, is finishing second here in the Open Class, second overall in the race. And Tony, for a long time, you really were putting the pressure on Mike Dam, but late in the race there, had a little bit closeness with the wall. It was still dark. We couldn't quite tell. Maybe you'll walk us through how that went there at the end of that race.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I got one hell of a workout, that's for sure. My arms are whooped, but yeah. So about I think it might have been 4th lap in. My reliable gear, Fanatic paddle shifters decided to quit working, so I had to move over to my sequential shifter. So I'm sequential shifting throughout the whole entire race. Driving one-handed through some turns. But yeah, and then there towards the end, when I got into the wall, it decided to reset itself. So when that happens on my wheelbase, the force feedback will cut out for a second. So yeah, it makes it real hard to drive.
Wow, no, that's amazing. Then at a place like this, driving in the dark with all kinds of issues going on with the shifting and the wheel, that's pretty impressive. Then, I mean, did you think coming into this race that you'd be able to stick with Mike Dam and really put the pressure on him, or did you think as it was going you'd have an opportunity, despite all the shifting issues, that maybe you still were going to be able to get a chance to get by him towards the end?
No, I really think if I didn't have the paddle shifter issue, I could have had something for him. Yeah, I really think so. But it happens, It was a good race though.
Yeah, and honestly, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you salvaged what could have been a disastrous night into a second place podium finish. So congrats on that for you, Tony. Anybody you want to thank for the performance tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Fnatic for making the best gear on the planet.
No sarcasm in that at all.
Yeah, thank you to you guys, and thanks for Extreme. Love the series.
All right, Tony, thanks, and congrats again on the second place finish tonight.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And if Rickmotech was listening, maybe Rickmotech can set him up with something there.
I know who he can call to get some replacement equipment for sure.
Exactly. All right. That was Tony Kernan, driver of the number 7 Kernan Motorsports Porsche, finished second in the pro category. Let's switch over to the AM category, and Bobby Childs, driver of the number 88 Ferrari 488 Evo. He took the win tonight in the AM.
All right. Well, we get Bobby in here. So, Bobby, 99 times out of 100, you come into the booth. It's to tell us bad news, how you left the race early. Tonight, you're in here with a victory. Tell me a little bit about it.
Oh, my gosh. Is that how you really want to start this, guys? After all my hard work, you're just going to lay into me and bring up all that bad news. Oh, my God.
Congratulations, Bobby, on the win. Tell me about it.
Okay. So, this win is dedicated to my new lady love, the Ferrari 488 Evo. This car iRacing has nailed this car. It lets me drive the way I want to drive. Now, I've always been a huge Ferrari fan. Even though I was slower in it than the Audi, I've still been in the Ferrari. You guys have seen that. I just love the Ferrari. I've dedicated to stick with it. And this new version, it just lets me attack a lot more, which is the way I like. I like to really attack the corners, and it's just letting me do it. And it was such a fun race. I wish Julian would have hung around a little longer. Had a great race with Julian. He really put a lot of pressure on me. Really forced me to keep hammering lap after lap after lap. But I just somehow managed to keep the car clean. And I think that was really the key, just, limiting the mistakes. I overdrove a corner here or there, but limiting the contact on the wall, keeping the car in one piece. I think that's really what it came down to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned about Julian, and you had Julian right on your tail. You had Eduardo in his tail. I mean, that whole first half of the race, you got to be worrying that these two guys, especially the way that they came out of the gate attacking each other, that maybe you were going to be the next victim in line.
Oh, yeah. And Julian has great pace. Like at most sport, it was like, this is the guy to beat in the amateur class now, in the AM ranks, is going to be Julian. So I knew that was going to be the real driver to beat, and being able to hold him off, I feel was, a victory in and of itself, because I know he's got great pace. He runs that Porsche really well, and man, hats off to him for a great race.
Yeah, but hats off to you for able to put down that pace and really showing the crowd here what you can do. And I just got a note from Kevin Ford. They're adding 200 pounds to the Ferrari Evo for next race. So I hate to bring you that bad news, but
that's Kevin for you, though, man. He can't let me have a single ray of sunshine in my life. It's, hey, Bobby, we need a graphic here. Hey, Bobby, we added a new driver at the last second. Just woe and misery on me.
I'll let you take that up with Kevin before the next World Challenge race. But hey, Bobby, congrats tonight. And I got to ask, who do you want to thank for this great race tonight?
Real quick, I got to thank the guys at Craig Setup Shop, who gave me some really good tips to get the car dialed in better. I got to thank our team sponsor, Proforma, Elite Texas Graphics, Chris Thorman. He moved over to the P2 tonight from the GT3 series. We're really rooting for him. Want to thank our team owner, Andrew List. He's doing great things in the real world of racing right now. He's not out here. And I want to thank Avatar Ang for saving us all on the day of Black Sun.
All right. Well, Bobby, congrats again on the victory. Well earned. You were flying tonight, and I really can't wait to talk to you the next time. And more of these post-race interviews. I really like this format with you better.
Yes, the non-wreck interviews.
Yes, clean cars are a good kind of car.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Bobby. Congrats
Have a great one, guys.
All right, there you go. That was Bobby Childs, driver of the number 88 D2D E-Racing Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, Bobby Childs' new love interest. All right, now let's finally bring in Mike Dam. He was our winner tonight overall and in the Pro Class, driver of the number 93 Orion Racing Porsche.
All right, Mike Dam. And Mike, you really tonight came out after the a race probably you wanted back from Canadian Tire. Tonight you get your opportunity for revenge, and you take a stranglehold of this race early on, but you had some pressure from behind. Walk me a little bit of what you were thinking there with Tony right on your 6.
Yeah, Tony was putting some good pressure on. He was he had some really good pace. He was quick at last round too, so I kind of expected it. Yeah, it's definitely it's a little difficult to navigate around this track when there's pressure behind you and you got to keep the pace up, but you got to also keep it clean. It's a really tough thing to balance. But yeah, once it started getting dark, it was just kind of added to that. I'm sure everybody's already talked about it getting dark, but yeah, well, really we haven't had a chance to ask anybody.
Yeah, I haven't asked the other guys yet a little bit. But I want to ask you, what is it like being the lead car and it's just sheer darkness in front of you, but you got the taillights of Tony behind you lighting up your cockpit and lighting up everything, your mirrors and everything. How bad is the visibility in front of you when you're the lead car like that?
It really wasn't great. I think the worst part was just the transition. You'll see that I had a couple of really bad laps, like probably mid-race, just because like it went from being able to drive flat out to all of a sudden, like the next lap, I couldn't see my brake markers, and I had to like relearn on the spot, and that was really difficult. Took a few laps to like really get into a good rhythm again.
Did the league? I know they do a lot of practice sessions, before every race week. Did they offer a night session to get this kind of practice, or is this just kind of wing it as it comes?
Absolutely not. I don't think any of us had any clue it was going to go into the dark. So that was a little bit of a surprise throw-in from the admins, I guess.
Well, I got to say, it may have worked because, you're able to hang on to this victory, and I didn't see a whole lot of other issues with drivers in that dark. It actually made for an interesting. It would have been nice if the city of Detroit would put some actual street lights around the circuit, right? But light it up like Singapore, I guess, or something. But honestly, really good result, and for you, the absolute best results coming home in the top step of the podium. So, congrats on that. And is anybody you'd like to thank for tonight's victory?
Yeah, just all the guys in the league. Frank at Ricmotech for sponsoring us. Just a Ryan race team, a good group of guys. We all help each other. And just Kevin and Jeff for putting this on, and you guys for broadcasting. Thank you.
Well, Mike, congratulations again on the victory, and really looking forward to seeing you in every round of the Rickmotech series, but certainly back here in World Challenge in a couple of weeks.
Thanks very much. Have a good one, guys.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right, there you go. Mike Dam, our winner tonight in the Orion Racing number 93 entry. And Larry, I think basically what Mike was alluding to is what you can't see, you can't hit. Because right. I'll tell you, as soon as the sun went down and as soon as the headlights came on, people stopped impacting the wall for the most part, except for Tony, who I will give him a pass, certainly.
Absolutely,
given
If
all the equipment
your shifting goes down, your
having.
wheel goes out, he definitely needs to call Rickmotech right away and get himself a new setup so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. You might want to sit through some of the commercials that we run between races here just to get some ideas. All right, so that's going to wrap things up here from Belle Isle for round 2 of the Rickmotech World Series. Again, if you like what you see here, if you liked what you saw here tonight, go ahead, please give us a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV's YouTube channel and click on that notification bell to find out every time that we have great virtual motorsports action for you to watch here on the YouTubes. In addition to that, go ahead and search us out on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Just search for one word, Apex Racing TV. All right, so Larry, let's take a look at what we've got coming up on the schedule. Next week, we've got round 8 of the Classic Sprint Series. This is from Alton Park, so we're heading back over to the UK, and this is going to be a 60-minute sprint as opposed to some of the shorter 30-minute races that we've run recently. Again, that's next week. Then in 2 weeks, the Lambeau Trophy Series, the brand new Lambeau Trophy Series. We've got round 3 going to be at Watkins Glen, and we are going to be going with the 2 30-minute sprint races. Great excitement there, where we invert the field after based on the results of the first race, and it should be a great time. Larry and I are going to have a great time as well. We're going to be calling that race from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then finally, October 11th, the World Challenge returns. It's going to be round 3. We're heading down to Asia. We're heading to Japan for Suzuka. It's going to be the Suzuka Grand Prix. 75 minutes of action with our GT3 and LMP2 cars on track, all at the same time. All right, so for Larry McLeod, for Dennis Branch, for Jonathan Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg. Remember, you can find out more about the Rickmotech World Challenge and all the other Rickmotech series by going to extrememotorsports99.com, and come back and see us next Monday night, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll see you then.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, rickmotech.com.